Have you ever found yourself wondering if there are places still untouched? Places where the earth keeps its own secrets? Places so deeply woven into silence that even maps hesitate to name them? This journey begins here, with me guiding you across China in a way you may have never imagined before. Not the China of postcards, not the China of neon lights and great walls crowded with footsteps, but the other China. China, with its vastness, hides so much more than the world suspects. Think of the karst mountains of Guilin. You've probably seen the outlines in paintings rising like dragon backs above the river. But have you ever thought about the caves beneath them? Where underground rivers carve paths unseen, where stalactites drip rhythm into darkness, where light never reaches, yet life survives. Or the shimmering turquoise pools of Jiuzhaigou Valley, so clear they seem to hold not just water but entire skies trapped beneath their surface. These are not places of tourism alone. They are living beings, natural worlds in their own right. And my goal is to take you beyond the postcard, into the pulse of these hidden places. So when you leave, you will not just know them, you will feel them. As we travel deeper, picture the layers of history laid over the land. The people who came before left more than temples and walls. They left whispers embedded in stone, villages carved into mountainsides, caves where monks once spent lifetimes in meditation, deserts where wind has sculpted entire cathedrals of sand. Imagine walking there, your footsteps sinking into the very dust, walked on by dynasties long gone. Each hidden wonder is more than scenery. It is memory, endurance, a chapter of Earth's book written in languages older than writing. The Dansha landforms, for example, painted in swathes of red, orange, and yellow stone, are not just breathtaking in color. They are 24 million years of compressed sandstone, eroded by wind and rain into shapes so precise they feel designed. Standing before them, you realize the planet itself has been sculpting art since before humans dreamed of beauty. This is the China unseen, the China that doesn't need an audience to exist. I promise you, the pace here will remain unhurried. I want you to linger, to see with me the way morning fog hangs over the rice terraces of Yuanyang. From afar, they resemble staircases built by giants, each curve catching the light like mirrors layered across mountains. But when you stand close, you can hear the sound of water trickling from level to level, feeding not just the fields but entire generations of families who have lived here in harmony with the land for over 1,300 years. These terraces are not mere farmland, they are living sculptures. The soil itself has memory, remembering each hand that shaped it, each season of planting and harvest. Here people have learned not to conquer the earth, but to bend with it. And in that bending, beauty was born. That is what I want you to feel, that beneath every view is not only nature's work, but also the story of those who have called it home. But not all hidden places are shaped by harmony. Some were forged by extremes, where survival itself feels impossible. In the depths of the Taklamakan Desert, known as the Sea of Death, lies a world of silence so vast it feels infinite. The shifting dunes, golden and endless, bury entire paths within hours. And yet within this harshness, secrets remain. Ancient Silk Road towns, lost beneath sand for centuries, still emerge when winds shift, revealing remnants of once thriving lives, pottery shards, fragments of walls, even mummies preserved by the dryness. Walking here, you feel the fragility of human existence against the scale of time and nature. The desert doesn't just hide, it devours, and yet paradoxically, it preserves. It holds on to its dead, as if unwilling to let them vanish entirely. This balance between destruction and preservation, between life and death, is one of China's most unreal secrets, waiting for those who dare to step into silence. Everywhere we go in this unseen China, there is a tension between the hidden and the revealed, between the living and the lost. And I want you to hold on to that tension as we continue, because as you listen, you're not just traveling across space, you are moving through layers of time, through worlds both fragile and eternal. These hidden places are not merely destinations, they are mirrors reflecting our own impermanence, our own longing to be part of something greater. This is the promise of the journey, that by the time we finish, you will not just know of unseen China, you will carry it with you, as though its rivers, deserts, mountains, and caves had left their mark inside you. And so, as we close this first step together, let the silence linger, let the story breathe. There is so much more to come, and I want you to take each word the way you take each breath, slowly, fully, deeply. There are moments when the land itself feels alive, breathing in rhythms we cannot hear but only sense. Deep in Guizhou province, hidden away from the hurried steps of tourists, the Huangguoshu waterfall reveals itself with a voice of thunder. It is one of the largest waterfalls in all of Asia, stretching 255 feet wide and plunging down 255 feet into a jade-green pool. But what makes this waterfall different from others is not just its scale. It is the secret it hides behind its curtain of water. Step close enough and you discover a cave concealed within the rock wall, known as the Water Curtain Cave. Here you can stand inside the mountain itself, looking outward through a veil of rushing water, the world outside shimmering and distorted, as though viewed through living glass. The spray settles against your skin, the roar fills your chest, and time becomes irrelevant. This is not a place to simply watch. It is a place to be swallowed, to surrender to the raw force of nature until you feel small, yet strangely infinite, carried by the sound that has been falling, unbroken for millions of years. But if water roars in Guizhou, stone whispers in Inner Mongolia, where the Hexig 10 Global Geopark stretches across the horizon like another planet entirely. The land here is shaped by what geologists call dansha and granite weathering, terms that feel too clinical for something so surreal. Imagine enormous mushroom-like rocks balanced delicately on thin stone stems, cliffs carved into waves of frozen movement, and valleys where red sandstone burns beneath the sun. Some formations resemble temples, others animals, some so strange they seem born of a dream rather than erosion. Scientists tell us this landscape was carved over 1.4 billion years, shaped by ice, wind, and the persistence of time. Yet standing there beneath a stone archway that towers above the grasslands, it feels less like science and more like entering a myth made solid. Local herders tell stories of spirits trapped within these rocks, voices that echo in the wind. To them, the land is not just geology, it is alive, ancient, and sacred. That belief is difficult to dismiss when you see the way light bends across the stone at dusk, turning the earth into an ocean of fire. Hidden within Sichuan province lies a wonder so rare, it feels as though nature wanted to test the limits of beauty itself. The fairyland of Huanglong, known for its cascading pools, is like a staircase built from crystal. Dozens of terraced basins spill down the valley, each one filled with water so clear it reflects the sky with uncanny sharpness. The colors shift from turquoise to emerald to golden yellow, depending on the minerals in the limestone that shapes each rim. Walking here, you feel suspended between land and heaven, as though you are treading across fragments of a broken rainbow. And yet, beneath this dreamlike scene lies fragility. The calcium carbonate that forms these terraces is delicate, easily damaged, and constantly in flux. The pools are alive, growing slowly, retreating when disturbed, shaping themselves anew. Endangered species, like the golden snub-nosed monkey and the giant panda, live within these forests, as if guarding the secret beauty of the place. It reminds us that what is most unreal is also most vulnerable. We are allowed to glimpse it, but never to claim it. Not all hidden places shine with color. Some hold their power in shadow. In the depths of Guangxi's mountains lies the Reed Flute Cave, a labyrinth stretching more than 240 meters, with chambers so vast they feel like underground cathedrals. Stalactites hang like frozen waterfalls, stalagmites rise like silent guardians, and mineral formations glitter faintly in the light, each one shaped over thousands of years by the slow drip of water. The cave's name comes from the reeds that grow at its entrance, used for centuries by locals to make flutes. When you walk inside, it feels as though the earth itself has swallowed you whole. Yet paradoxically, you feel safe, enclosed in its silence. Ancient inscriptions carved into the stone date back more than 1,200 years, proof that people have always been drawn here, always sensing something sacred in the stillness. Standing inside, you cannot help but feel the weight of time pressing in, reminding you that nature works in patience far beyond human understanding. Far to the west, beyond the chaos of cities, lies a place where mountains are carved like waves of fire. The flaming mountains of Xinjiang stretch in ridges of red sandstone, burning beneath the desert sun. Temperatures here can climb to over 50 dong rays in summer, and the land glows like embers scattered across the horizon. Ancient travelers along the Silk Road told stories of these mountains as cursed, a place where dragons once burned the earth with their breath. In truth, the red glow comes from iron-rich sandstone, its layers sculpted by millennia of wind and water. Yet when you stand there, feeling the heat radiate from the ground, it is easy to believe the myths. Beneath the slopes, archaeologists have uncovered ancient tombs, remnants of civilizations that dared to carve out a life in the harshest of climates. The flaming mountains remind us that what is dangerous is also magnetic, that we are drawn to beauty even when it burns. And so, as our journey deepens, I want you to carry this rhythm with you: water that roars, stone that whispers, light that paints, shadows that embrace, and fire that endures. Each hidden place in China is not just scenery, it is an element, a force, a teacher. Together, they weave a tapestry not of landscapes, but of experiences. These are not places you check off a list. They are places you feel in your chest long after you've left. They change you, not with a sudden revelation, but with a slow dawning, like the way sunlight creeps across mountains at dawn. And as we move onward, remember, every wonder we see is both eternal and fleeting, carved in stone yet fragile as breath. In the remote expanse of Yunnan province lies a place so otherworldly, it feels less like a landscape and more like a vast stone labyrinth, designed by some ancient hand. This is the Stone Forest, known locally as Shilin, where sharp limestone towers rise as high as 100 feet, shaped over millions of years by water and wind into jagged spires. Walking here is like stepping into a frozen sea, where waves of stone crash upward, their edges knife-sharp, their shadows endless. Narrow pathways wind between the formations, some leading to hidden grottos where sunlight never touches, others opening suddenly to wide clearings where the rocks stand like silent guardians. Local legend tells that the forest was created by the spirits of heaven as a gift for lovers who could not meet in life, giving them a place to wander together in death. The Yi people, who have lived here for centuries, still tell these stories, still dance within the forest during their torch festival, believing the stones themselves carry memory. When you walk between them, it is hard not to believe the same. Further south, near the border with Vietnam, another secret waits in the earth, the karst caves of Guangxi, a world hidden beneath the green hills. Among them, the Shaojai Tiankeng sinkhole stands as the largest of its kind on the planet. Nearly 2,000 feet deep and almost a mile across, it is not simply a hole in the ground but a canyon inverted, an entire ecosystem thriving in isolation. Within its depths grow forests untouched by the outside, species of plants found nowhere else, waterfalls plunging into unseen rivers. Standing at the rim, you look down into a world that seems impossible, as though a fragment of paradise fell from the sky and buried itself beneath the earth. Scientists have only begun to explore its depths, rappelling down sheer limestone walls into the humid mist below. The scale alone is humbling, reminding us that even in an age where satellites map the surface of the earth, there are still corners so vast, so hidden, that they remain unknown. Not all of China's secrets lie in stone and shadow. Some shimmer across water, reflecting the sky like mirrors carefully laid by invisible hands. The Dongting Lake, located in Hunan Province, is more than a body of water. It is a breathing, shifting entity, expanding during flood seasons until it becomes a sea, shrinking in dry months to reveal sandbars where fishermen build temporary huts. It is often called the kidney of the Yangtze for the way it regulates the great river, absorbing its floods and sustaining countless species. But what makes Dongting most unreal is its role in history and legend. It was once said to be the home of water spirits, goddesses who protected sailors from storms. Ancient poets wrote of its beauty, describing it as a mirror where heaven leaned down to see itself. Today, migrating birds flock here in the tens of thousands, their wings painting the sky above the silver-gray waters. The lake is both natural wonder and cultural heartbeat, a reminder that hidden places are not only measured by obscurity, but by the quiet depth of meaning they hold. If lakes whisper, deserts shout. In the far northwest, within Gansu Province, lies the singing sand dunes of Dunhuang. Rising nearly 800 feet high, these golden dunes stretch across the edge of the Gobi Desert, and when the wind shifts, or when footsteps disturb their surface, they produce a low, resonant hum, a sound so deep it feels as though the earth itself is singing. Scientists explain this phenomenon through friction between grains of sand, but no explanation can capture the eerie beauty of the sound echoing across the empty expanse. For centuries, caravans on the Silk Road passed here, listening to the dunes as if the desert itself offered guidance. At the foot of these dunes lies Crescent Lake, an oasis shaped like the moon, its waters clear even after 2,000 years of shifting sands. Standing here, surrounded by emptiness yet sheltered by a perfect crescent of water, one feels suspended between survival and impossibility. This juxtaposition of silence and song, of desert and oasis, makes Dunhuang one of the most surreal wonders in all of China. Yet perhaps the most haunting of all hidden places lies in Qinghai Province, where the Chaka Salt Lake glistens like a flawless mirror. Its waters are shallow, but its surface reflects the sky so perfectly that when you step into it, you appear to be walking among clouds. Locals call it the mirror of the sky, and once you stand there, surrounded by endless reflection, the world feels inverted. In ancient times, salt caravans crossed here, leaving only faint traces of paths etched into the whiteness. The lake itself provided sustenance for centuries, its salt carried to distant regions along trade routes. Today, it is both a resource and a sanctuary, attracting visitors who come not to take, but to stand in awe at its silence. At sunset, the mirror of the lake catches fire, turning the horizon into liquid gold. The vastness erases the boundary between heaven and earth, leaving you adrift in something larger than words. This is not a place to simply see. It is a place to dissolve, to lose yourself until you no longer know where the reflection ends and the sky begins. As we continue, notice how each wonder we encounter carries duality, strength and fragility, silence and sound, danger and sanctuary. These hidden places do not simply exist. They speak, they challenge, they ask us to feel. And the more deeply we look, the more we realize that the unseen China is not hidden by chance, but by choice. It is as though the land itself has decided who may see it and when. And by stepping into these stories, by letting yourself move slowly through them, you become part of that secret pact. Each step is not discovery alone. It is permission granted by a world older and wiser than us. In the remote folds of Tibet, where the air thins and silence stretches longer than sound, there lies a place so untouched that few outside the region ever set eyes upon it. This is the Namtso Lake, one of the 3 great holy lakes of Tibet, sitting at an elevation of more than 15,000 feet above sea level. The water here shines an impossible shade of turquoise, framed by snow-capped peaks of the Nyenchen Tangla Mountains. On calm days, the surface reflects the mountains so perfectly, it seems as though the sky has descended into the earth. The Tibetans believe Namtso is the heavenly lake, a sacred body watched over by protective deities. Pilgrims circle its shores for days, often barefoot, leaving behind prayer flags that flutter in the freezing wind. What is most unreal is not just the beauty of the lake, but its stillness, its sense of being beyond time. Standing at its edge, you feel the thin air burning in your lungs, the silence pressing against your chest, and yet you cannot leave. You are bound by something greater, something you do not fully understand, but which your heart recognizes as eternal. Travel eastward, and the mountains give way to a different hidden marvel. The 1,000 Buddha caves of Mogao, carved into cliffs near Dunhuang. From the outside, the caves appear as a row of weathered openings, nothing extraordinary. But once you step inside, you find yourself surrounded by walls painted with stories spanning 1,000 years. Over 700 caves were cut into the sandstone, each one filled with murals and sculptures that depict Buddhist teachings, travelers and gods. The colors, though faded, still glow with a haunting brilliance. Blues, reds, and golds, made from minerals ground by hand centuries ago. To stand here is to stand inside a library of stone, each brushstroke a voice from another age. During the height of the Silk Road, this place was not hidden. It was a beacon of culture, where monks, merchants, and pilgrims left their mark. But time buried it in sand, forgotten for centuries until rediscovered in the early 20th century. Now stepping into the caves feels like entering a dream preserved in darkness, a secret gift of art and devotion still whispering from the past. Not far from these desert caves lies another enigma, carved not by human hands, but by the forces of nature, the Yardang National Geopark. Here, in the heart of the Gobi Desert, the wind has sculpted the land into a city of stone. Towering ridges resemble ruined fortresses. Streets cut by sandstorms look like avenues abandoned by an ancient civilization. Walking through, you might expect to hear footsteps behind you, voices echoing off the walls, but all that greets you is silence and wind. The formations known as yardangs stretch for miles, eroded over millions of years into sharp ridges and smooth valleys. At sunset, the shadows turn them into ghosts of castles, a forgotten kingdom hidden in the desert. Legends tell of armies swallowed here, of travelers who wandered too deep and never returned. Claimed by the maze of stone, it is a place where imagination and reality blur, where the earth reminds you of its power to create cities without builders, civilizations without people. Further south, in Hunan province, lies a hidden valley where mist clings to jagged peaks rising like stone spears from the forest. This is Zhangjiajie, a landscape so surreal it inspired the floating mountains in the film Avatar. The pillars, some more than 600 feet tall, rise straight from the valley floor, their tops covered with green trees that cling stubbornly to the stone. Walking along narrow paths or riding the glass elevator that climbs one of these cliffs, you feel as though you are moving through another world where gravity itself has been defied. The local Tujie people tell stories of ancestors who transformed into these stone pillars, standing watch over the land for eternity. Scientists explain that sandstone, eroded by centuries of water and ice, created these towers. But science cannot explain the feeling of standing among them. The silence of mist curling around the peaks, the vertigo of looking down into the abyss, the wonder of realizing that Earth itself has built a forest not of trees but of stone. In the far southwest, hidden within the lush mountains of Guangxi, flows the Detian Waterfall, the largest transnational waterfall in Asia, straddling the border between China and Vietnam. Here, the Guichun River splits into cascades that tumble down 3 levels, spreading across more than 650 feet in width. The roar of water is constant, but it carries a rhythm more soothing than harsh, like the steady breathing of the earth. Mist rises into the air, feeding jungles rich with orchids, bamboo, and rare birds. Few travelers come this far, and those who do find themselves swallowed in green, surrounded by the perfume of flowers and the echo of rushing water. It feels like a secret kept between nations, a natural border that is less a line of separation and more a shared sanctuary. Fishermen still move small bamboo rafts along the calmer sections of the river, their movements slow and ancient, unchanged for generations. Watching them, you realize that some parts of the world resist change, holding to a rhythm older than history. And as we step back from the roar of waterfalls and the silence of deserts, from sacred lakes and stone forests, what binds all of these hidden places is their refusal to be ordinary. Each one holds a different face of China, sacred, fragile, dangerous, eternal. But together they remind us of the same truth, that even in a world mapped and measured, wonders remain unseen, waiting for those willing to slow down, to listen, to feel. These are not tourist sites, not destinations to be consumed. They are living presences, guardians of memory, fragments of eternity scattered across the land. And as we continue deeper into the unknown corners of this country, I want you to remember that the unseen is not truly hidden. It is only waiting for you, for us, for those who choose to walk without rushing, to see without wanting to own, to listen without demanding answers. The journey is far from over. In many ways, it has only just begun. Earth seems to split open, where cliffs rise so steep and close together that sunlight only brushes their edges for a few brief moments each day. This is the Nujiang Grand Canyon, a gorge carved by the New River, known elsewhere as the Salween. Few people outside of China have ever heard of it, yet it is among the deepest canyons on Earth, stretching for hundreds of miles through mountains that remain wild and untouched. The river runs restless, a ribbon of jade churning with white rapids, while high above, terraced villages cling to slopes as though balanced on the edge of the sky. The canyon is home to the Lisu, Nu, and Dulang peoples, each preserving traditions and languages that have survived in isolation for centuries. Crossing fragile wooden suspension bridges that sway with every step, hearing the roar of the river below, you understand why the canyon has remained unseen for so long. It is not a place easily given. It is a place you must earn with patience, with reverence, and with humility. Not far away, in Yunnan province, lies a hidden plateau that glows in red. The Dongchuan Redland is unlike any other landscape in China. Vast fields of soil, stained a deep crimson by iron oxide, stretching into waves of rolling hills. Farmers here have shaped the land into terraces, their crops of wheat, potatoes, and buckwheat growing in layers that shift with the seasons, painting the earth in bands of red, green, gold, and white. From a distance, the hills resemble an enormous canvas, as if the earth itself had become a painter and the fields its brushstrokes. This place is rarely visited by outsiders, tucked far from the well-known tourist routes, yet its beauty is staggering. At sunrise and sunset, the hills blaze with light, The colors so vivid they seem unreal, almost imagined. The people who live here carry their lives with quiet rhythm, tending fields whose beauty they hardly remark upon, for to them it is simply home. But for anyone who stands upon those ridges and looks out, it is a revelation, the earth transformed into living art. Travel further north, and the land changes again, revealing a place where cliffs rise in parallel walls, as though sculpted deliberately by giant hands. This is the Taihang Mountains, where hidden canyons cut so deep that entire villages once lived in isolation, unreachable except by precarious ladders carved into stone. In one such place, Guoryang village, the people decided they would no longer live cut off from the world. With hammers and chisels, they carved a road straight through the cliffs, a tunnel hanging on the edge of the abyss. It took them 5 years, working by hand, to open this path. Today the tunnel road is famous for its daring construction, windows cut into the cliff face revealing dizzying views of the valley below. But beyond the road, the mountains remain largely unseen, waterfalls dropping in thin silver threads, caves hidden in folds of rock, trails that wind endlessly upward into silence. The Taihang are not gentle mountains, they are hard, stern, demanding, yet their beauty lies in that severity, in the way they remind you that some places are not meant to be easy. And then there are landscapes so quiet, they seem almost unreal. In Inner Mongolia, beyond the vast grasslands, lies the Hulunbuir Prairie, a sea of green that stretches further than the eye can follow. In summer, the grass grows high enough to sway like waves, dotted with wildflowers that scatter colors across the horizon. Herds of horses move like shadows across the plains, their hoofbeats a low thunder that carries on the wind. Yurts dot the grassland, smoke rising from their chimneys, families welcoming travelers with bowls of milk tea and songs sung for generations. Here, life has not been hidden by cliffs or caves, but by distance, the sheer remoteness that keeps the prairie free from the noise of modernity. At night, the sky stretches vast and unbroken, stars burning so brightly they seem to pulse in the darkness. To sit on this grassland, hearing only the whisper of wind and the occasional call of an animal, is to feel the world expand and yourself dissolve, not into nothingness, but into something greater, something timeless. In the far west, in Xinjiang, lies a place where mountains shine in colors most would never believe possible. The Rainbow Mountains of Zhangye Dansha rise in stripes of red, orange, yellow, and even blue, their layers formed by sandstone and minerals deposited over 24 million years. Wind and rain carved them into ridges and valleys, but it is the mineral content that gave them their extraordinary hues. Walking among them, the ridges seem painted by a hand far greater than human. The land glows especially after rain, when the colors deepen and shimmer beneath the clouds. Scientists explain the geology, yet even with science, the sight feels magical. It feels as though you are walking inside a dream, a vision where the earth itself has decided to show its palette. Locals believe the mountains were once the body of a goddess, her beauty preserved in stone after her spirit ascended to the heavens. Looking upon them, it is not difficult to imagine such a story being true. And so, as our path winds through canyons carved by rivers, hills painted in fire, mountains shaped by determination, grasslands whispering eternity, and rainbow ridges glowing with ancient color, we begin to see the unseen China more clearly. It is not hidden because it is small. It is hidden because it is vast, because its wonders are scattered like stars across a night sky, too many to see all at once. Each place we visit adds another thread to the tapestry, another breath to the story, and with each step, we realize that what makes these places unreal is not only their beauty, but the fact that they endure untouched, patient, waiting. The journey is far from finished, and the wonders that lie ahead promise to be even more strange, even more breathtaking, even more hidden than those we have seen so far. There is a river in southern China that seems to vanish, slipping into darkness as though the earth itself has swallowed it whole. In Guangxi province, the Bulyu River disappears underground into a limestone cave system so vast that only parts of it have ever been explored. The river plunges into the darkness of the Tenglong Cave, a cavern whose entrance rises over 230 feet high and stretches more than 1,200 feet wide, making it the largest cave entrance in the world. To stand at its threshold is to face a mouth that seems capable of swallowing not just a river, but time itself. Inside, chambers stretch for miles, stalactites hang like frozen spears, and the air feels damp and alive, as though the cave is breathing with you. What makes this place so unreal is its hidden life: blind fish that have adapted to endless night, insects that navigate without eyes, and plants clinging stubbornly to cracks where faint light seeps in. The sound of the river echoes endlessly, reminding you that even when unseen, water never ceases its journey. Farther east, another kind of wonder glows beneath the earth. In Zhejiang Province, explorers have discovered a series of man-made caves known as the Longyu Caves, carved directly into solid stone more than 2,000 years ago. There are at least 24 of these enormous caverns, each with ceilings rising nearly 100 feet and walls carved with precise parallel lines that run unbroken across the stone. No records exist of their construction. No tools have been found. No explanation survives. Some chambers are large enough to hold cathedrals, yet they remain empty, silent, without decoration. The scale is staggering. Over 1 million cubic meters of rock was removed by hand, and still no one knows why. Some believe they were storage chambers, others temples, others monuments built for reasons long forgotten. To walk inside one of these caves is to stand within a mystery too vast to comprehend, where the silence of stone weighs heavier than words. They are hidden, not because nature kept them secret, but because history did. And sometimes that is even more haunting. If caves hold shadows, then mountains here hold light. In Tibet, hidden high above the clouds, stands Mount Kailash, a peak considered sacred by 4 religions: Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Bon. What makes it extraordinary is not its height. At 21,778 feet, it is not among the tallest, but its perfection of shape. The mountain rises in a near pyramid, its faces aligned with the cardinal directions, its summit gleaming white with snow that never melts. For centuries, pilgrims from across Asia have journeyed here, not to climb, but to walk around its base. To climb, it is forbidden, for the summit is believed to be the dwelling place of gods. Instead, pilgrims perform the Kora, a 32-mile circumambulation of the mountain, often done on foot, sometimes prostrating with each step. The air is thin, the path treacherous, yet the devotion is unwavering. Scientists can explain its geology, yet no science can explain the sense of awe that grips you when you see it. Kailash is not hidden in the physical sense. It is hidden because it cannot be possessed. It allows only reverence, nothing more. Back in Yunnan Province, another secret reveals itself in water rather than stone. Lugu Lake rests high in the mountains, its waters so clear that wooden boats seem to float above air. Surrounding it are small islands, home to the Mosuo people, one of the last matriarchal cultures in the world. Here, women hold the lineage. Families are centered around mothers, and marriage as it is commonly known does not exist. Instead, the Mosuo practice what is called the walking marriage, where partners remain in separate households, and children are raised by the mother's family. This social structure, hidden from the wider world for centuries by the isolation of the lake, continues even today. The lake itself adds to the feeling of another world, its surface often covered in mist, its shores lined with willows that bend toward the water. At dawn, fishermen paddle out in narrow canoes, their silhouettes reflected against pink skies. It is not only a hidden place in nature, but a hidden way of life, preserved quietly on the edge of a mirror lake. And then there are wonders that live only for moments. In the forests of Hainan Island, far to the south, the rare bloom of the ghost orchid appears only once every few years. Its flowers, translucent and pale, seem to float in midair, clinging to branches without leaves, stems, or roots visible. Locals say the flower is a spirit returning to visit, a fleeting reminder of how fragile beauty can be. Hainan is often known for beaches, but inland lies rainforest where ancient trees tower, their roots twisting like sculptures, their canopies hiding monkeys, hornbills, and butterflies as large as hands. Within this hidden world, the ghost orchid blooms unseen, often with no witness but the forest itself. To find one is to stumble upon a miracle, a moment where time slows and you realize how much exists without needing to be seen. It is a reminder that hidden wonders are not always grand or vast. Sometimes they are small, fleeting, and yet unforgettable. As we draw this step of the journey to a close, notice how the unseen is not uniform. It wears many shapes: rivers swallowed by caves, mountains forbidden to climb, villages where women hold the heart of life, flowers that bloom and vanish in silence. Each wonder carries with it a lesson that not everything must be explained, not everything must be possessed, not everything must last forever. The unseen asks us not to conquer but to listen, not to rush but to wait. And as we continue forward, there are still deeper mysteries waiting: deserts that glow with strange light, rivers that twist into hidden valleys, forests where even silence has a voice. The path is long, and it asks for patience, but patience is what allows the hidden to be revealed. In the far northwest, where China brushes against the edges of Central Asia, lies a desert that glows with illusions. The Badain Jaran Desert, lesser known than the Gobi, is a world of paradoxes. Here stand the tallest stationary sand dunes on Earth, some rising over 1,600 feet, taller than many skyscrapers. They appear immovable, yet they sing when the wind moves them, producing a low, resonant hum that vibrates through the air like the voice of the desert itself. But the true secret of Badain Jaran is what lies hidden between its dunes. More than 100 lakes, some fresh, some salt, scattered like jewels in an ocean of sand. These lakes appear suddenly, their waters sustained by underground springs, and many are rimmed by white salt crusts that shimmer beneath the sun. Standing on a dune crest, looking down at a sapphire pool encircled by burning gold sand, the sight feels impossible. It is as though two worlds, desert and oasis, collided and decided to exist together in silence. Travelers who come here speak of the strange stillness, broken only by the shifting of sand and the soft lap of water against impossible shores. Not far from this desert lies another illusion of stone and light, hidden in the folds of Xinjiang, the Yardang Ghost City. These wind-sculpted formations stretch across the desert plain, carved into towers, corridors, and shapes that resemble palaces, temples, and beasts. When the wind rushes through them at night, it produces a chorus of howls and whistles that echo across the emptiness, leading locals to call it the Ghost City. Some formations stand like fortresses, others like the ruins of walls long abandoned, their silhouettes sharp against the desert sky. Archaeologists say these shapes are the work of relentless erosion, but standing there surrounded by silence broken only by the desert's voice, it is easy to believe in the stories of spirits wandering, of cities swallowed by sand and left to echo forever. At sunset, the formations glow red and gold, shadows stretching long, as though the earth itself has chosen to stage a play with no audience but the wind. Further east, in the province of Qinghai, lies a plateau that seems to stretch into infinity. The Kekixili Nature Reserve, one of the least inhabited regions on Earth, is a high-altitude wilderness where human presence fades to nothing. The land rolls in endless tundra, dotted with wetlands that reflect the vast sky and broken only by the movement of wild animals. This is the home of the Tibetan antelope, once nearly driven to extinction, now protected and thriving in herds that sweep across the plains like rivers of life. Snow leopards, elusive and silent, stalk the ridges, their presence felt more than seen. In winter, the cold sinks to unbearable depths, and yet the land endures, unchanged, unconcerned. To walk here is to walk in a silence so profound it feels like a sound itself, a hum that fills your chest. There are no monuments, no villages, no paths, just sky, earth, and the unbroken rhythm of wildness. Keketsili is not hidden by stone or sand. It is hidden by distance, by the sheer vastness that humbles human ambition. And then, like a hidden thread of silver, the Jinsha River cuts through Sichuan and Yunnan, carving valleys so steep they seem impossible. The Jinsha is the upper stretch of the Yangtze, but here it moves like a serpent, curling into a dramatic bend known as the first bend of the Yangtze at Shigu Town. The river twists almost 180 degrees, surrounded by mountains that rise in layers of green and gray. Standing above it, you see the river flowing east, then north, then turning back again, as though it has chosen to resist the natural order. This bend shaped history. It was a crossing point for traders, soldiers, and armies, a gateway where cultures collided and exchanged. Yet beyond its history lies its mystery, a river that seems to question its own direction, a hidden reminder that even nature does not always follow straight paths. Fishermen still work its banks, their boats gliding across the bend, tiny against the vast curl of water. Watching them, you realize that the hidden is not always unseen. Sometimes it is simply unrecognized, waiting for those who look more closely. To the south, in Guangxi, lies a wonder that seems almost unreal. The Datien Ban Giok waterfall, shared with Vietnam, cascades down 3 tiers in an enormous horseshoe shape, spilling into a turquoise basin surrounded by jungle. Though mentioned before, its true secrets reveal themselves only when you stand close, feeling the spray on your face, hearing the roar deepen as it echoes against the cliffs. In the rainy season, the waterfall swells to a breadth of more than 650 feet, its waters carrying the scent of distant mountains. Bamboo rafts drift near its base, their guides steering slowly with long poles, the rafts trembling in the surge of current. Here, water does not fall alone. It carries with it the memory of rivers far away, mountains unseen, skies that opened miles before. The sound is less a crash than a chant, steady, resonant, endless. It is a sound you carry with you long after you leave, a sound that lingers like a heartbeat pressed into your memory. And as we pause at this point in the journey, notice how these hidden places hold contradictions. Deserts with lakes, ghost cities of stone, rivers that bend against reason, waterfalls that sing across borders, prairies so vast they erase you. Each contradiction is a reminder that the unseen cannot be contained by expectation. It resists the ordinary. It refuses to be simple. And it invites us not to explain, but to experience, to stand still, to listen, to feel. These places remind us that the world is far larger than we believe, and that even within one country, entire universes wait unseen. And so we move forward, carrying these voices with us, ready for the next silence, the next roar, the next wonder that hides until we are willing to see. In the heart of Sichuan lies a gorge so deep and narrow that sunlight reaches its bottom only for a fleeting moment each day. This is the Tiger Leaping Gorge, carved by the Jinsha River as it crashes between the towering Jade Dragon Snow Mountain and Haba Snow Mountain. The gorge stretches more than 15 kilometers, with cliffs that rise over 12,000 feet from river to peak, making it one of the deepest in the world. Legend tells of a tiger leaping across the river at its narrowest point, a story that has given the gorge its name. Standing here, with the roar of the river echoing like thunder through stone walls, the legend feels less like myth and more like memory. The water is relentless, foaming white as it smashes against boulders, carrying with it the strength of mountains. Paths cling to the cliffsides, carved by hand, where travelers walk with nothing but a thin railing between themselves and the abyss. Every step is a reminder that the hidden is not always gentle. Sometimes it is ferocious, demanding respect, asking us to acknowledge our fragility. Farther north in the same province lies another hidden wonder, but one quieter, more secretive. The Jiuzhaigou Valley, tucked deep within the Min Mountains, is a place where water does not roar but whispers. Here lakes shimmer in impossible shades of turquoise, emerald, and sapphire, their colors shifting with the play of light and mineral content. Some are so clear that fallen trees rest beneath the surface like skeletons frozen in crystal. Others reflect forests and peaks with a clarity so precise they seem like perfect mirrors. Waterfalls thread through the forests, some wide and gentle, others falling in curtains over moss-covered stone. The valley is home to rare species, the giant panda, the golden snub-nosed monkey, but its real magic lies in its atmosphere. The air feels different, softer, carrying the scent of pine and the chill of high altitude. To walk here is to step into a living painting, a place so unreal it seems crafted, and yet it is entirely natural. The name Jiuzhaigou means Valley of Nine Villages, and indeed small Tibetan villages still dot its edges, their prayer flags fluttering against the wind, linking human life gently to the sacredness of the land. If Jiuzhaigou is a painting, then Wulingyuan in Hunan is a sculpture. The sandstone pillars here, numbering in the thousands, rise like stone spears from the forest floor, some reaching nearly 1,000 feet into the air. Mist curls around them, hiding their bases so that the peaks appear to float above the valley like islands in a sea of clouds. This is a landscape that defies gravity, so strange that when filmmakers searched for a world beyond imagination, they came here, and it inspired the floating mountains in Avatar. But beyond cinema lies the truth of the place. It is not fantasy, but reality shaped by erosion over millions of years. Small streams trickle through the valleys, carving away stone bit by bit, until towers remain, stubborn and eternal. The Tuja and Miao people who live nearby tell stories of spirits dwelling in the pillars, guardians who watch over the forests. And when you stand among them, dwarfed by their immensity, wrapped in silence broken only by the call of birds, it is easy to believe. Further east, in Anhui Province, rises Mount Huangshan, the Yellow Mountain, often painted and written about, but still holding its hidden secrets. Its granite peaks are crowned by ancient pine trees that twist in shapes sculpted by wind and time. Seas of clouds roll beneath the summits so that the mountains appear as islands floating above a white ocean. Hot springs bubble at its base, while narrow stone paths wind along cliffs that drop away into mist. For centuries, poets and artists came here seeking inspiration, and their works helped shape the image of China's natural beauty. But Huangshan's hidden wonder lies not in its fame, but in the moments when you find yourself alone on its paths, with only the wind and the distant call of an eagle. In such moments, the mountain reveals itself not as a postcard, but as a presence, vast and ancient, a place that humbles even the most hurried traveler. It is said that once you climb Huangshan, no other mountain will ever seem as beautiful. Perhaps that is true, but only if you see it not through crowds, but through silence, patience, and reverence. In Guangxi, another hidden treasure reveals itself in the form of rivers winding through karst mountains. The Li River flows like a ribbon of jade, its waters calm, its surface broken only by the slow gliding of bamboo rafts. Along its banks, karst peaks rise in strange, almost impossible shapes, some sharp, some rounded, each with its own legend. Painters for centuries have tried to capture its beauty. Poets have filled verses with its imagery. Yet the truth of the Li River cannot be contained in canvas or words. It is not just the mountains or the water. It is the mist that settles in morning, the sound of fishermen casting nets, the reflection of peaks trembling in the current. Sometimes, cormorant birds perch on the rafts, trained to dive and catch fish, their wings dripping silver as they return. The Li River is not hidden in the sense of secrecy, but in the sense that no matter how many images are shared, its true essence can only be seen in person, in silence, drifting slowly along its flow. And so, as we step back from gorges that roar, valleys that shimmer, mountains that float, and rivers that weave like jade, the pattern of the unseen grows richer. These are places that cannot be hurried, cannot be reduced to quick glances or brief visits. They ask for time, for presence, for surrender. Each wonder is a world unto itself, carrying myths, science, silence, and song all at once. Together they remind us of the same truth, that the hidden is not only out there in remote corners, but also in the way we choose to see, When we slow down, when we let the earth speak, the unseen begins to reveal itself, not as a secret to be solved, but as a gift to be felt. And there are still more gifts waiting, scattered across the mountains, deserts and rivers of this vast country. Our path is long, and the unseen China has only begun to show its face. There is a place in Shanxi province where a temple clings impossibly to the side of a cliff, as though gravity has chosen to forget it. This is the Hanging Temple of Henshan, a structure built more than 1,500 years ago into the sheer face of Mount Hen. Its wooden halls rest on stilts driven into the rock, stairways and walkways connecting rooms that jut into the air above a valley. From below, the temple seems fragile, as though a single gust of wind could topple it. Yet it has endured centuries of storms, earthquakes, and time. Inside, statues of Buddha, Confucius, and Laozi sit together, a rare harmony of three great traditions sharing one sacred space. The sound of the wind echoes through its beams, and the wood creaks faintly beneath your feet, reminding you of the passage of countless pilgrims before you. The temple is hidden not by distance, but by its defiance of expectation, a place where faith dared to build against stone, where devotion made the impossible endure. Far to the west, in the mountains of Tibet, lies another wonder, carved not by builders but by glaciers. The Karola Glacier descends from the peaks of the Nyenchen Kangsar Mountain, its ice glowing blue, even beneath the brightest sun. From the road, it appears suddenly, a frozen cascade spilling down the cliffs, its crevasses jagged and deep. The air around it is sharp and thin, the silence broken only by the crack of shifting ice. Beneath the glacier, streams run clear and cold, feeding valleys where yaks graze among fields of alpine flowers. Few travelers stop here, though it lies close to the highway, and so it remains a secret, a moment of raw nature often passed in haste. To stand at its base is to feel both awe and humility, awe at the immensity of frozen time, humility at its fragility in a warming world. It is not just ice, it is memory stored in frozen layers, centuries of snow compressed into silence, waiting to melt into rivers that sustain life far below. In Gansu province, hidden in the cliffs along the Silk Road, lie the Bingling Thousand Buddha Caves, a site less known than Mogao but no less extraordinary. These grottos, carved into limestone walls along the Yellow River, hold hundreds of statues and murals, dating back to the Western Qin dynasty, nearly 1,700 years ago. To reach them, one must travel by boat, drifting along the river until the cliffs rise suddenly, their caves opening like secret doors. Inside, painted Buddhas gaze from walls in faded reds and golds, their expressions calm despite centuries of wind and water erosion. A colossal seated Buddha, carved directly into the cliff, towers over visitors with a serenity that still radiates power. Unlike crowded heritage sites, Bingling remains quiet, its remoteness keeping it hidden from most. Standing there, among faded murals and silent statues, you feel the weight of 1,000 years pressed gently into stone, as if time itself had decided to rest here. Further south, in the highlands of Yunnan, lies a place where water meets sky in a surreal dance. The Yunyang rice terraces stretch across mountain slopes like endless steps, carved by the Han people over the past 1,300 years. At dawn, the terraces fill with light, each level reflecting the sky in hues of silver, pink, and gold, so that the mountains appear covered in liquid mirrors. From above, they resemble an intricate mosaic, each curve flowing into the next, each line a reminder of human patience in shaping the land. The terraces are more than beauty, they are survival, an agricultural system that sustains entire communities while harmonizing with the mountain environment. The Han people believe the terraces are sacred, a gift from their ancestors, and their festivals still honor the spirits of earth and water that made them possible. Walking among them, you hear the trickle of irrigation channels, the voices of farmers working slowly, and you realize that this hidden wonder is not just scenery, but a living partnership between humanity and nature. In Inner Mongolia, another hidden marvel lies not in mountains, but in the vastness of steppe and lake. Hulun Lake, The largest freshwater lake in the region lies in an endless plain where sky and water merge into a horizon that seems infinite. Known as Dalai Lake to locals, it sustains one of the richest ecosystems in northern China, hosting hundreds of species of birds, including swans, geese, and cranes. In summer, the lake glitters blue beneath the vast sky, while in winter, it freezes into a sheet of silver ice, reflecting stars so clearly that it feels as though the heavens have descended to earth. Around its shores, nomadic herders graze cattle and sheep, their yurts clustered like tiny islands in a sea of grass. At dawn, smoke rises from their hearths, mingling with morning mist over the lake. Hulun is hidden not by secrecy, but by scale, so vast and remote that its beauty can only be grasped by those willing to journey far beyond the familiar. And as we step back from cliff temples, glaciers, grottos, terraces, and lakes, we begin to see how the unseen China carries not one voice but many. Some places roar with power, others whisper with silence. Some were carved by nature, others by human hands guided by faith or survival. Yet all of them remind us of the same truth, that wonder is not a commodity to be consumed, but an experience to be lived, deeply, slowly, fully. These hidden places ask us not just to look, but to feel, not just to admire, but to listen. And as we continue our journey, deeper into deserts, forests, rivers, and sacred lands, the unseen will keep revealing itself, not all at once, but in fragments, as though testing whether we are patient enough to truly see. There is a forest in Yunnan that feels like a dream made of stone. We walked through it earlier in passing, but to linger in Shilin, the stone forest, is to realize it is more than formations of limestone rising from the earth. In its depths, narrow corridors close around you until only a sliver of sky remains, and the silence is so heavy that even the smallest sound seems to echo. Locals believe that spirits dwell among these jagged spires, and that on certain nights, when moonlight falls just right, shadows dance on the rock faces like living beings. The Yi people who call this place home weave their stories through the sharp ridges, saying that lovers who lost each other in life wander here still, their souls brushing against the stones. Science tells us that what we see is the work of water dissolving limestone over hundreds of millions of years, shaping pinnacles and towers with patient erosion. But walking through the stone forest, science feels like only part of the truth. There is something else, something less tangible but no less real, in the way the stones lean and crowd together, forming a labyrinth that resists explanation. Farther north, in Sichuan, lies a hidden paradise of alpine meadows and snow-capped peaks, known as Daocheng Yading. The Tibetan people call it the last pure land on earth. 3 sacred mountains rise above the valleys here: Chenrezig, Zhangbaiyang, and Chanadorje, each believed to embody a deity. Glacial rivers thread through the land, their waters impossibly blue, feeding lakes so still they reflect mountains with crystal clarity. In spring, meadows burst into color with wild flowers, while herds of yaks graze beneath peaks that seem to pierce the sky. Pilgrims walk in slow circles around the sacred mountains, their prayer flags fluttering against the wind, a living testament to devotion. Few outsiders ever reach this place until recent decades, its remoteness keeping it hidden for centuries. To walk here is to feel as though you have stepped into a painting from another world, untouched, sacred, filled with silence that feels alive. It is a place that does not ask you to explore, but to bow your head, to acknowledge its sanctity, to understand that some beauty belongs not to us, but to itself. Traveling eastward, hidden deep in Guizhou's mountains, lies the Zhenyuan ancient town, cradled by the Weiyang River. Unlike cities that blaze with neon, Zhenyuan whispers with history, its stone bridges arching over quiet waters, its old houses leaning against narrow alleys that twist with time. By day, fishermen cast nets from wooden boats, their reflections rippling across the green river. By night, lanterns glow softly against the walls, turning the town into a dreamscape of light and shadow. What makes Zhenyuan hidden is not its obscurity alone, but the way it holds on to stillness in a world that moves too fast. Here, Taoist temples perch on hillsides, Buddhist shrines nestle into caves, and history lingers in the architecture of dynasties long past. Walking its streets, you feel suspended between centuries, a traveler both in space and in time. This is the kind of hidden wonder that is not remote in distance, but in spirit, a place that has chosen to keep its rhythm slow, even as the world outside quickens. In Guangxi, there lies a mountain that breathes with light. Elephant Trunk Hill rises above the Li River, its arch carved by water into the shape of an elephant drinking from the stream. By day, the stone glows golden in sunlight, its reflection rippling across the jade-green current. But at night, when the moon is full, something extraordinary happens. The arch frames the moon perfectly in its hollow, creating the illusion of a pearl held gently by the elephant's trunk. Locals call this scene the elephant drinking the moon, a vision that has inspired poems for centuries. The hill itself is riddled with caves, where ancient inscriptions lie etched into stone, reminders of dynasties that once worshipped the mountain. Tourists may sometimes crowd the riverside, but the true magic remains hidden in the quiet moments when you stand alone, watching the river shimmer beneath the arch, and the moon slides into place as though the world itself had designed this alignment. Even deeper in the forests of Tibet lies a lake hidden by myths, Basum Lake, its waters a deep emerald framed by snow peaks and pines. On a small island near its center rises a temple, more than 1,500 years old, connected to the Bon religion, older even than Tibetan Buddhism. The temple is small, its wooden halls quiet, but its setting is one of impossible serenity. The still waters reflecting mountains, the pines whispering with wind, the air crisp with altitude. Locals say the lake is sacred, a place where spirits gather, and that its waters should never be disturbed. Standing there, the silence feels profound, almost weighty, as though every sound is absorbed into the depths of the water. Few make the journey to Basum, its remoteness and altitude keeping it hidden from all but those who are willing to endure the long path. But for those who arrive, it is not simply a lake, it is a mirror of spirit, a place that feels alive in its stillness, demanding reverence from anyone who dares to look upon it. And as we step back from stone forests, sacred valleys, ancient towns, glowing mountains, and lakes alive with spirit, the unseen continues to weave itself into a story not of distance, but of depth. Each place reminds us that what is hidden is not always far. Sometimes it is hidden because it requires patience, silence, humility. Sometimes it is hidden because it resists spectacle, offering itself only to those who are willing to linger, to feel. And in this lingering, we discover that the unseen is not just about places, but about the way we move through them. Slowly, gently, with respect. The journey ahead promises even stranger wonders, deserts that gleam like glass, forests alive with mystery, rivers that vanish into the earth. The path continues, and so does the invitation to see. Deep in Xinjiang, in the heart of the Taklamakan Desert, lies a place that glitters like shards of broken glass, scattered across the dunes. Locals call it the Desert of Glass, a stretch where the sands sometimes reveal patches of natural desert glass formed by intense heat, lightning strikes, and the pressure of shifting sands. The fragments gleam under the sun, greenish and translucent, some sharp, others smooth, lying in patterns that resemble frozen rivers. Archaeologists believe some pieces may have been carried by ancient meteor strikes, fusing sand into crystalline stone. Walking there, under the fierce sun and endless sky, you feel the crunch of glass beneath your boots, the heat radiating up from the earth, the silence stretching in every direction. It feels both beautiful and unsettling, as though you are trespassing in a place meant for no one. And yet the fragility of those glassy fragments reminds you that even the harshest deserts are capable of delicate, fleeting wonders. Not far away, in the same western regions, lies a hidden grotto unlike any other. The Kizil Caves, carved into cliffs near Kuka, are among the oldest Buddhist cave complexes in China. Dating back to the 3rd century, over 200 caves spread along the sandstone walls, their interiors covered in murals painted in vivid reds and blues. Many of these murals depict stories not only of the Buddha, but of merchants, kings, and travelers who once passed along the Silk Road, leaving behind traces of their cultures. Unlike the famous Mogao Caves, Kizil is less visited, its location more remote, its secrets better preserved in silence. Some of the paintings still shine with their original colors, their figures expressive, their stories alive despite centuries of erosion. Walking through these chambers, you are not simply in a cave, you are in a gallery carved into the earth, a library where the voices of the past still breathe through pigment and stone. The grotto remains hidden not because it is small, but because the desert has guarded it, keeping its colors safe from all but the patient traveler. Further east, hidden within Sichuan's Henduan Mountains, lies a valley often called the Oriental Alps. The Heluogo Glacier Park combines ice, forest, and hot springs in a way that feels almost surreal. Massive glaciers flow down from Mount Gonga, their surfaces creased with cracks and crevasses that shimmer blue beneath the light. Around them grow dense forests of fir and cedar, their branches heavy with snow in winter, bursting with green in summer. At the foot of the glacier, hot springs bubble, steam rising into the mountain air, creating a scene where fire and ice exist side by side. The glacier itself, constantly shifting, creaks and groans as it moves, a living river of ice that has flowed for thousands of years. Few people venture here, and those who do are struck by the strange harmony, the warmth of springs meeting the silence of ice, the forest wrapping itself around both, as though nature has chosen to remind us that opposites can coexist, not as rivals, but as partners. In Inner Mongolia, another valley holds a secret, less about extremes and more about illusion. The Resonant Sand Gorge near Baotou is a desert canyon where the dunes sing. When you slide down the slopes of fine golden sand, the grains vibrate against each other, producing a deep resonant sound, like a giant drum or the roar of distant thunder. The sound can be felt in your chest, vibrating through your bones, even though it comes from nothing but sand in motion. Local legend says the sounds are the voices of spirits, calling across the desert to guide the lost. Scientists point to friction between dry grains of sand as the cause, but no explanation captures the awe of sitting at the base of a dune, hearing the desert hum as though alive. This place, like others, remains hidden not because people do not know it exists, but because one must experience it directly to believe it. A video, a description, even a memory is not enough. Only the sound itself rolling through the air can convince you that the earth sometimes sings. Farther south, in Fujian province, lies a hidden architectural wonder shaped by earth itself, the Tulu. These are vast, circular earthen houses, some more than 700 years old, built by the Hakka people as fortresses and homes, rising 3 or 4 stories high, with thick mud walls reinforced by bamboo and stone. Each Tulu can house hundreds of people, arranged in families around a central courtyard. From the outside, they look like massive fortresses of clay, blending into the hillsides, almost invisible against the earth. Inside, they are alive with warmth, wooden balconies ringing the courtyard, lanterns swaying, kitchens steaming with the scent of rice and tea. These structures are not simply houses, they are entire worlds enclosed within walls, hidden from invaders, storms, and time itself. Today, some remain inhabited, their families still tending to traditions that bind them to ancestors. To step inside a Tulu is to step into history still breathing, a reminder that what is hidden is not only natural, but human. And as we look back over deserts of glass, caves painted with centuries, glaciers that groan with age, dunes that sing with voices, and homes that hold entire worlds within their walls, the unseen grows ever richer. Each hidden wonder is not just a place, but a dialogue between time and patience. They are fragments of a greater whole, a China that reveals itself slowly, reluctantly, as though testing whether we are ready to truly see. To hurry past them would be to miss them entirely, but to pause, to feel, to listen, that is how they open themselves. And as our journey continues, deeper into sacred forests, strange rivers and ancient peaks, we carry these lessons with us, that hidden wonders are not prizes to be won, but invitations to humility, to awe, to belonging. In the misty highlands of Yunnan lies a forest so ancient it feels as though it remembers every era of the earth. The Xishuangbanna rainforest stretches across rolling hills and deep valleys, one of the last remnants of tropical rainforest in China. Here, trees tower more than 200 feet high, their roots twisting into vast networks that grip the soil like veins. Vines hang in thick curtains, orchids bloom in bursts of color, and the air hums with the calls of unseen birds and insects. Hidden within this forest are elephants, wild Asian elephants that roam freely, moving in family groups across the land as they have for centuries. Few expect to see elephants in China, and yet here they are, reminders of a world that once stretched unbroken from India through Southeast Asia into these valleys. The forest is alive in every direction, pulsing with a rhythm that feels both chaotic and harmonious, a place where every sound is part of a larger song. Walking beneath its canopy, you feel less like a visitor and more like a witness, present in a world older and richer than human memory. Far to the north, in Qinghai Province, lies another kind of hidden sanctuary, Qinghai Lake, the largest saltwater lake in China. At an elevation of over 10,000 feet, the lake spreads like a sea across the Tibetan Plateau, its waters shifting between shades of deep blue and turquoise. On its western shore lies Bird Island, where tens of thousands of migratory birds gather in summer, filling the air with wings and cries. The lake holds not only natural but also spiritual meaning. Tibetan Buddhists consider it sacred, and for centuries, pilgrims have walked its vast circumference, leaving prayer flags to ripple in the wind. Standing at its edge, the horizon seems endless, the sky mirrored in its surface, so that earth and heaven blur into one. The silence is immense, broken only by the calls of birds or the sound of waves against the shore. This is not a lake meant for hurry or spectacle. It is meant for stillness, for the kind of seeing that comes only after time has slowed enough to hear your own heartbeat echo in the vastness. Travel eastward. Hidden in the folds of Zhejiang's mountains lies the Tianmu Mountain, named for its twin peaks that resemble eyes gazing toward the sky. Its forests are filled with ginkgo trees that have stood for centuries, some more than 1,000 years old, their leaves turning to gold each autumn in a spectacle of quiet brilliance. Streams cut through the valleys, their waters feeding moss-covered rocks and bamboo groves that whisper with every breeze. Tianmu has long been a site of Buddhist practice. Temples still perch among its slopes, their bells carrying faintly across the trees. In the early morning, when mist drapes the peaks and sunlight filters through in broken beams, the mountain feels enchanted, a place suspended between myth and reality. Pilgrims climb slowly, pausing at shrines carved into stone, while wild deer move silently among the undergrowth. To walk Tianmu is to walk through a living meditation, a reminder that hidden wonders are not always distant. Sometimes they are within reach, waiting only for us to look with reverence. In the deserts of Ningxia, another secret lies carved by wind, the Sand Lake. Here golden dunes rise against the horizon, but nestled among them lies a vast lake, shimmering with silver light. The juxtaposition is startling. Desert and water, fire and reflection side by side. Migratory birds flock here, making it one of the most important wetlands in northern China. While fishermen still cast their nets from small wooden boats, their reflections rippling across water, fringed by reeds. Sand Lake has become a place of legend, its beauty amplified by its impossibility. To watch cranes glide across the surface while dunes tower beyond them is to witness contrast in its purest form. The desert holds silence and death, The lake hums with life and motion, and yet together they form harmony. It is as though the earth itself decided to remind us that opposites can live side by side, not in conflict, but in balance. Farther west in Tibet lies a monastery hidden high in the cliffs, accessible only by narrow paths carved into rock. Drakgyurpa Monastery, a series of meditation caves and shrines, sits perched above a valley, its white walls gleaming against the brown and green of the mountainside. For over 1,000 years, monks have retreated here to practice in silence, their chants still carried by the wind as though woven into the air itself. The caves are said to have been used by great masters, their presence lingering in the stillness, their devotion carved into the very stone. From the monastery, the view opens onto the valley below, rivers winding like silver threads across the plain, clouds drifting low as though they too bow before the mountains. Few make the climb, and fewer still linger long enough to feel its weight. But those who do speak of the peace that settles there, a peace deeper than words, born not of absence but of presence. And as we close this step of the journey, we see again how the unseen is not a single kind of wonder, but many. Forests alive with elephants, lakes that hold the horizon, mountains that whisper prayers, deserts that cradle water, monasteries suspended between earth and sky. Each place asks us to pause, to look again, to realize that what is hidden is often only invisible because we have forgotten how to see. The unseen does not hide from us. It waits, patient, enduring, until we are ready. And with each step deeper into China's forgotten corners, we are reminded that the journey is not about collecting places, but about being changed by them. The unseen continues, and with it, the invitation to slow down, to listen, and to wonder. In the far reaches of Heilongjiang, where winters descend with a force few outsiders can imagine, there lies a cave of ice that feels like stepping into another world. The Wudalayan Chi volcanic region is known for its black basalt fields and ancient eruptions, but hidden within are ice caves that remain frozen even in the heat of summer. Entering one is like crossing into a secret frozen palace. Walls glitter with crystalline frost, icicles hang in sculpted forms, and the ground beneath your feet crunches with frozen crystals. Some chambers glow faintly blue from the way light filters through cracks above. Others are shrouded in darkness, silent except for the slow drip of water turning to ice as it falls. These caves are the result of unique airflow through lava tubes, preserving ice year-round. To step inside after walking across scorched volcanic rock is disorienting, like slipping between worlds in a single breath. It reminds you that the earth holds contradictions more perfect than any story could imagine. Fire and ice, heat and silence, bound together in one hidden place. Farther south, in Sichuan, lies a valley that seems to glow with color and silence all at once. The Danba Valley is known not only for its scenery, but for its towers, ancient stone watchtowers built by Tibetan tribes centuries ago, rising in clusters across the hills. Some stand 200 feet tall, their walls leaning yet unbroken, their stones darkened by time. Scholars debate their purpose, defense, communication, symbols of power. Local families say they are protectors, guardians of the valley who watch still. The valley itself blooms in spring with pear and peach blossoms, the trees turning hillsides into clouds of white and pink, their petals carried by mountain winds. Villages of wooden houses with carved balconies cling to the slopes, their windows glowing warmly at dusk. The Danba Valley remains unseen to many, not because it is distant, but because it has chosen to remain quiet, living at its own pace, balancing the endurance of stone with the fragility of blossoms. Walking there, you feel the weight of centuries pressing gently into your steps, a reminder that hidden wonders are often stories still unfolding. To the north, in Inner Mongolia, lies a hidden sea, the Urguna Wetlands, the largest wetland system in China, sprawling across the borderlands near Russia. From above, the wetlands look like a green and silver labyrinth, rivers winding endlessly, lakes glittering in the sun, reed beds stretching to the horizon. Herds of cattle graze on the surrounding grasslands, while cranes and swans descend in graceful flocks, their wings catching the light. In autumn, the reeds turn golden, their colors painting the wetlands in fire, while in winter, the land freezes into a silver stillness. What makes Arguna hidden is not its beauty, but its scale. Few imagine such a vast living sea in the far north, and fewer still make the journey. But those who do discover that wetlands are not empty, but alive with voices, the rustle of reeds, the cry of birds, the ripple of water against the banks. It is a reminder that the unseen is often not dramatic, but patient, spread wide and quiet, asking you to notice the life within its silence. Further west, deep within Xinjiang's Tian Shan Mountains, lies the Canis Lake, a place wrapped in stories that blur myth and reality. Its waters glow a shifting turquoise, sometimes green, sometimes blue, depending on the season and the sky. Surrounded by dense forests of larch and spruce, with snow peaks reflecting in its depths, the lake already feels enchanted. But it is the legends that make it hidden. Locals tell of a giant creature dwelling beneath its waters, a dragon-like being that surfaces rarely, leaving ripples as wide as fields. Scholars suggest the stories may come from ancient sightings of massive fish, yet no evidence has ever silenced the myth. In autumn, when the forests blaze in shades of red and gold, the lake seems to hold the reflection of fire itself, glowing brighter than the sky above. Walking its shores, you cannot help but feel watched, not by people, but by the presence of something older, something unseen yet undeniably felt. In the far south, in Guanxi, lies another secret folded into stone, the Silver Cave. Hidden within karst hills, the cave stretches nearly 7 miles underground, its chambers filled with stalactites and stalagmites that glitter with a silvery sheen. Water drips constantly, shaping new formations even as you walk. Some pillars rise like frozen waterfalls, others hang like chandeliers, their surfaces glowing faintly in the dim light. Locals say the cave holds 3 treasures: the Snow Mountain Waterfall, a formation that cascades like ice frozen in motion; the music screen, where thin stone sheets resonate like bells when struck; and the Jade Pool, a basin of still water reflecting the glittering ceiling above. To walk inside is to enter a realm where time feels liquid, where centuries drip slowly into shape, where silence is broken only by the sound of drops echoing against stone. The Silver Cave remains less known than others, but its hidden beauty is among the finest, a palace not of human design, but of patience. And so, as we step away from frozen caves in volcanic stone, blossoming valleys guarded by towers, wetlands alive with birds, lakes glowing with myth, and caves glittering like silver, we see again the variety of what hidden means. It can be icy silence, or blooming abundance, or endless wetlands, or mysteries of deep water, or the slow carving of stone. The unseen China is not one thing, not one image. It is a mosaic, each piece different, each piece asking for its own kind of attention. And with every step, we realize that what we are uncovering is not just a list of wonders, but a deeper way of seeing, slower, gentler, more willing to linger. The path continues, and still the unseen waits, vast and patient, ready to reveal more for those who listen. High in the borderlands of Tibet and Sichuan rises a peak that few outside these regions have ever seen, yet it is worshipped with reverence older than recorded time. Mount Minyak Kongka, often called Gongga Shan, towers over 24,000 feet, earning it the name the King of Sichuan. Its summit gleams with permanent snow, its ridges cutting sharp lines against the sky, and clouds often cling to its slopes as though unwilling to release it. To approach Minyak Kongka is to understand why locals call it sacred. Pilgrims walk for weeks to circle its base, enduring thin air and harsh weather, believing each step purifies their spirit. Climbers who have attempted its summit tell of storms that come suddenly, winds that tear ropes from stone, avalanches that sweep entire expeditions away. Yet even from a distance, the mountain humbles you. At dawn, when the first light strikes its peak, the snow glows gold, and the valley below fills with shadow. It is as though the earth itself has raised a temple of ice and sky, hidden in plain sight, revealed only to those willing to bow before its immensity. Far to the northwest in Xinjiang lies the Kumtag Desert, a sea of sand less known than the Taklamakan, yet equally vast and mysterious. Its dunes ripple endlessly, rising and falling in waves shaped by relentless wind. Few plants survive here, yet in hidden basins, rare oases appear, pools of water fringed by reeds where birds rest in migration. The desert is known for its shifting horizons, dunes that seem to move as you walk, shapes that blur and reform in the heat. Travelers speak of mirages so vivid that entire lakes and forests appear, only to vanish when approached. Ancient caravans once crossed these sands, their routes etched faintly into memory, their bones sometimes uncovered by the shifting dunes. Kumtag remains unseen because it is merciless, demanding preparation, humility, and respect. But for those who dare to step into its silence, the desert rewards with a beauty both brutal and pure, a reminder that emptiness itself can be a wonder. Closer to the east, in the depths of Shanxi province, lies a temple complex that seems born of both earth and faith, the Yungang Grottos. Carved into sandstone cliffs near Datong, these caves hold more than 50,000 statues of the Buddha, ranging from tiny carvings the size of a hand to towering figures over 60 feet high. Dating back to the 5th and 6th centuries, the grottos are a fusion of cultures, Indian, Persian, and Central Asian influences woven into Chinese artistry, reflecting the Silk Road's reach. The largest Buddhas sit serenely in chambers where sunlight filters through carved windows, their faces calm, their hands raised in gestures of blessing. Smaller caves glow with murals of gold and ochre, their paint still visible despite centuries of wind and erosion. Standing within them, you feel surrounded not just by stone, but by devotion, generations of hands carving, painting, and preserving their faith in silence. The grottos are less visited than other wonders, but for those who find them, they reveal a hidden world where art and belief merge seamlessly. In Tibet's eastern valleys lies another wonder, less known but breathtaking in its silence, the Niangqi region, sometimes called the Switzerland of Tibet. Here, the Yarlung Tsangpo River cuts through gorges deeper than the Grand Canyon, its waters wild, its cliffs rising sharp on either side. In spring, peach blossoms cover the valley, their pink flowers spreading across the slopes while snow-capped peaks tower above. The contrast feels impossible, delicate petals drifting in air so thin your breath falters, set against mountains that rise higher than clouds. Villages here are small, their wooden houses painted brightly, prayer flags strung across paths, their colors snapping in the mountain wind. Few outside travelers come, and those who do often describe a sense of stepping into a hidden paradise where earth has chosen to combine its gentlest and fiercest forms. Niangqi is unseen not because it hides, but because it exists in a balance too perfect, too fragile, to fit into ordinary maps. Farther south, in Guangdong province, lies a geological secret, the Dansha landforms, cliffs and ridges of red sandstone shaped into strange patterns by wind and water. The name Dansha means rosy cloud, and it is easy to see why. At sunrise, the rocks glow red and orange, their surfaces reflecting light as though the land itself is burning softly. Some cliffs rise in sheer walls, others curve into arches and caves, while narrow ridges wind like dragon spines across the hills. Over millions of years, erosion sculpted these forms, leaving behind a landscape so surreal that it seems designed. Local legends tell of gods painting the cliffs with fire, of dragons sleeping beneath the hills, their scales visible in the ridges. Walking through the landforms, you feel as though you are moving across a painting, each turn revealing new shapes, new shadows, new illusions of color. Though scientists explain it as geology, the Dansha carries the weight of myth, and perhaps that is its truest hidden quality. And so, as we step back from sacred peaks of ice, deserts that blur into mirage, grottos alive with devotion, valleys of blossoms and rivers, and sandstone hills that glow with fire, we realize again that hidden wonders are not one kind of secret, but many. Some are vast and intimidating, others fragile and delicate. Some test the body, others test the spirit. Together, they remind us that China's unseen is not just geography, but a language, a way the earth speaks through silence, color, myth, and endurance. And with every wonder revealed, the journey deepens, not toward an ending, but toward a greater sense of belonging to a world far larger than we can ever fully hold. Hidden in the folds of Guizhou Province lies a river that seems determined to defy ordinary flow. The Maling River cuts through karst cliffs in a gorge so deep that its walls rise in sheer faces hundreds of feet high, while waterfalls plunge like silver threads directly into the river below. Some of these falls drop more than 500 feet, their spray turning into mist that catches rainbows in the sunlight. Walking along the cliffside paths carved into the gorge, you hear not one waterfall, but dozens, their voices overlapping into a constant symphony of water. The gorge is narrow in places, barely wide enough for light to reach the bottom, and yet the river has carved its way relentlessly, creating bridges of stone that span from wall to wall. The people of Guizhou call this place the Earth's Rift, and standing at the edge, looking down into its depths, it feels as though the earth has indeed torn itself open to reveal something both fierce and beautiful. Farther north, in Henan Province, lies a sacred forest that has echoed with footsteps for centuries. The Shaolin Monastery, nestled in the Songshan Mountains. Most know it as the birthplace of Kung Fu, but few realize the forest around it holds as much wonder as the temple itself. Paths wind through cypress groves, their trunks twisted with age, their roots sunk deep into soil that has borne witness to generations of monks. Scattered throughout the forest is the Pagoda Forest, a collection of stone towers built over centuries as tombs for monks and masters. Some are slender, others massive, their carvings worn but still whispering names long past. Walking here at dawn, mist curling around the pagodas, you hear the faint sound of temple bells carried on the wind. The forest feels alive, not with noise, but with memory, as though every tree, every stone carries the imprint of devotion. The Shaolin Monastery may not be hidden in name, but its true essence, the silence of its forest, the endurance of its pagodas, remains unseen by those who rush only to watch performances and move on. Travel west to Tibet, and you encounter a river whose very name carries power, the Yarlung Tsangpo, known as the highest major river in the world. In its journey across the plateau, it carves the Yarlung Tsangpo Grand Canyon, deeper even than the Grand Canyon of America. Here, cliffs rise over 19,000 feet above the river, peaks capped with eternal snow, while subtropical forests thrive in the depths below. The contrasts are staggering. Glaciers feed the river, while orchids bloom at its base. Eagles soar above, while monkeys chatter in the valleys. Few have ever ventured into its deepest reaches, the terrain too harsh, the river too violent. Local stories tell of spirits dwelling in the canyon, guardians of its secrets, punishing those who try to exploit it. Scientists too treat it with awe, studying its unique ecosystems while acknowledging how much remains unknown. To look into this gorge is to look into the very bones of the earth, a place that remains hidden, not because it is small, but because its scale is beyond what we can easily grasp. In Jiangxi Province lies another hidden marvel, where mountains rise in forms that seem sculpted by artistry rather than erosion. The Sangqing Mountain is named for the Taoist Trinity, and it has long been considered sacred. Granite peaks rise in sharp spires, some shaped like figures, animals, or mythical beings, while pine trees cling impossibly to cliffs, their roots gripping bare rock. Clouds drift through the valleys, wrapping the peaks in shifting veils so that they appear and disappear like visions. Temples and pavilions perch on ledges, their red walls contrasting against the pale stone, their bells ringing faintly through the mist. Walking the narrow bridges that connect ridges, you feel suspended in the sky, as though the mountain itself has lifted you into another realm. Sanqing is not only a geological wonder, but a spiritual one, a landscape where myth and stone merge seamlessly, where the Taoist belief in harmony between heaven and earth feels not like philosophy, but like reality made visible. Far to the northeast, in Jilin Province, lies a forest that transforms each winter into a wonder unlike anywhere else. Along the Songhua River, the phenomenon known as rime ice coats the trees, forming delicate white crystals that cling to every branch and twig. The air must be just right, moist and cold, but not too cold, and when the conditions align, the entire riverside turns into a frozen dreamscape. The trees glitter with frost so delicate it resembles lace, and when sunlight strikes, the forest shimmers as though woven from glass. Locals call it one of China's 4 natural wonders, but few beyond the region ever see it, for it lasts only briefly each year. The rime ice is fragile, melting at the first warmth, vanishing in silence. To walk among those trees, hearing the soft crunch of snow underfoot, seeing the world glow with white fire, is to understand that hidden wonders are sometimes not hidden by distance, but by time, fleeting, temporary, available only to those who wait patiently for their brief moment of grace. And as we step back from rivers that roar through gorges, forests that hold the memory of monks, canyons deeper than imagination, mountains wrapped in cloud, and forests that bloom in ice for only days at a time, we are reminded that the unseen does not belong to a single form. It is water and stone, silence and sound, endurance and fragility. It is the patience of glaciers and the fleeting breath of frost. Together, these wonders ask us to change how we see, not to collect, but to understand, not to rush, but to linger. And as we continue onward, there are still deserts, lakes, valleys, and temples waiting, their voices hidden until we are ready to listen. Hidden deep in the mountains of Tibet lies a lake so still, it seems not to reflect the sky, but to hold it captive. Yamdrok Lake stretches for more than 40 miles, its turquoise waters winding like a ribbon between snow-capped peaks. The lake is sacred to Tibetans, believed to be the life spirit of the region itself, and its shores are dotted with small monasteries, where monks chant prayers that echo faintly across the wind. From above, Yamdrok shines like liquid sapphire, its bays and inlets curling into shapes that resemble dragons and phoenixes. At dawn, when the first light touches the mountains, the water glows with fire, while at dusk it softens into silver. Few travelers see it in silence, most rushing past on highways, but those who linger understand why locals believe its waters can never dry without bringing disaster. The lake holds not only beauty but reverence, a reminder that some places are not simply landscapes, but spirits given form. Farther east in Henan, buried beneath layers of time, lie the ruins of Yinshu, the last capital of the Shang dynasty, a city that flourished more than 3,000 years ago. Today only fragments remain, foundations of palaces, bronze vessels unearthed from the soil, and most hauntingly, oracle bones inscribed with the earliest known Chinese writing. Standing among these ruins, it is difficult to imagine the life that once filled them, the clang of bronze bells, the smoke of ritual fires, the voices of rulers consulting the ancestors through cracks in heated bone. Yinshu was lost for centuries, hidden beneath fields, until archaeologists uncovered it in the 20th century. Now it is a place where history emerges from silence, where fragments of bone and bronze whisper the earliest stories of a civilization. It is not dramatic in its appearance, but it is powerful in its presence, reminding us that hidden wonders are not only natural, but human, carrying memory across thousands of years. To the south in Guangxi lies a cave so vast, it feels like the hollow of a mountain heart. The Miao Room, discovered within the Gebihe cave system, is the largest known cave chamber in the world by volume. Its ceiling rises nearly 700 feet, and its floor could fit dozens of football fields. Walking inside, you lose all sense of scale. Stalactites hang like stone daggers from heights you cannot comprehend, and the sound of your footsteps is swallowed by space. Scientists who measure its size call it numbers, but to stand there is to feel something beyond measurement, an emptiness so immense it becomes a presence. The chamber is difficult to reach, hidden in the mountains, accessible only by long treks and narrow passages. Few people ever enter, But those who do speak of the way their voices echo endlessly, returning again and again until silence feels alive. The Miao Room is not a tourist site. It is a cathedral of stone, hidden and immense, built not by hands but by time itself. Farther north, in Hebei, lies a mountain range with peaks that seem carved by artistry rather than erosion. The Bashang grasslands spread across rolling hills, but hidden among them are cliffs and ridges, where stone arches and pillars rise unexpectedly, their shapes resembling gates and windows. At sunrise, the light cuts through these stone openings, casting long beams across the grass, turning the land into a theater of shadow and fire. The grasslands themselves are endless in summer, seas of green dotted with wild flowers and herds of horses, while in winter they turn into a frozen expanse of white, silent except for the whistling wind. Few think of Hebei as home to such wild beauty, and perhaps that is why it remains unseen, its wonders hidden in the folds of ordinary landscapes. To wander here is to learn that hiddenness is not always about remoteness. Sometimes it is about surprise, the sudden revelation of beauty where none was expected. In the deserts of Ningxia lies another hidden marvel, the Helan Mountains, rising like a stone wall above the Yellow River Plain. Within their canyons are thousands of ancient petroglyphs, carved into rock by nomadic tribes thousands of years ago. The carvings show hunters with bows, animals with horns and hooves, suns and stars etched in simple lines. They are not monumental, yet they are powerful, voices of people who lived close to the earth, leaving their mark in stone to endure when memory might fade. Walking among them, you feel the weight of continuity, the persistence of human expression across time. The Helan Mountains themselves are rugged, their ridges glowing red in the light of dawn, their valleys filled with wild goats and eagles. But it is the carvings that transform them into something greater, a gallery without walls, an ancient story told in scratches of stone, hidden until you look closely enough to notice. And so, as we step back from sacred lakes glowing like sapphire, ancient ruins whispering of dynasties, caverns so vast they defy scale, grasslands that reveal sudden gates of stone, and mountains carved with the memories of forgotten hands, we see again that hidden wonders do not belong to one kind of world. They belong to both earth and people, to stone and spirit, to silence and story. Some ask us to climb high, others to listen low, others still to walk slowly across plains that seem empty until their secrets emerge. With each place, the unseen China grows richer, weaving natural wonder with human memory, reminding us that the hidden is never gone. It is only waiting for us to arrive with patience and with reverence. In Guizhou, there is a waterfall that hides its full power until you are close enough to be swallowed by its roar. Huangguoshu, one of the largest waterfalls in Asia, is known to some, yet few have experienced its hidden perspectives. Beyond the main cascade, which plunges nearly 250 feet, there lies a secret passage, the Water Curtain Cave, a natural tunnel that runs behind the falls. To walk through it is to enter a world of trembling light, where water crashes down in front of you like a living wall, each drop catching the sun into fragments of rainbows. The noise is overwhelming, yet strangely soothing, a thunder that drowns every other thought. The stone walls of the cave drip constantly, polished smooth by centuries of spray, and when you step out again into the open, you feel as though you have been inside the lungs of the earth, breathing its rhythm. Most visitors only see the waterfall from afar, but the hidden path transforms it from scenery into experience, a reminder that the real wonder often lies just beyond the obvious. Farther east, in Zhejiang Province, lies an island that seems to float between water and mist. Putuo Mountain rises from the East China Sea, one of the 4 sacred mountains of Chinese Buddhism. Its cliffs are carved with temples that face the ocean, their bells ringing faintly across the waves. Pilgrims come by boat, their incense smoke blending with sea air, their prayers carried by wind toward the horizon. The island is covered in forests of pine and bamboo, their roots gripping stone, their shadows moving like brushstrokes across temple courtyards. At sunrise, the sea glows red beneath the peaks, and the statues of Guanyin, the goddess of compassion, shine with golden light. To walk the island is to feel the presence of centuries of devotion, layered into every stone path, every carved prayer, every echo of chanting carried through the air. Putuo is hidden not because it is unknown, but because its true essence is invisible to those who rush. It reveals itself only when you pause, when you let the silence of sea and temple wash over you like a tide. To the north in Shanxi lies a valley of flame frozen into stone, the Red Canyon of Changji. Here cliffs rise in walls of crimson sandstone, their surfaces shaped by erosion into jagged patterns that glow brightest in the light of late afternoon. At the base of the cliffs, a river winds through the gorge, its waters reflecting red and gold so vividly it seems as though the earth is on fire. Hidden caves dot the canyon walls, some holding shrines, others echoing only with wind. The silence is broken by birds whose wings flicker black against the glowing cliffs, or by the distant murmur of water against stone. Though not widely known, the Red Canyon feels as though it belongs in legend, a place where earth itself carries the memory of fire. To stand within it is to be reminded that stone is never still, that even what seems eternal is in constant conversation with wind and water, shaping itself slowly toward new forms. Deep in Tibet's valleys lies a place so lush it feels like a lost world. The Yarlung Valley is often called the cradle of Tibetan civilization, a fertile land where barley fields ripple beneath high peaks, and monasteries sit like watchtowers above the plain. The valley is rich with myths. It is said to be the birthplace of the first Tibetan kings, who descended from heaven on a sky ladder. Today, it holds temples older than memory, their murals faint but still glowing, their incense curling into the mountain air. Rivers thread through the fields, feeding a land that seems too abundant for its altitude, too generous for its remoteness. Walking through villages here, you see houses painted white with red trim, their windows framed by carved wood, their roofs hung with drying barley. At dusk, the valley turns gold, the mountains glowing, while shadows stretch across the fields. The Yarlung remains hidden not by secrecy, but by remoteness, a world sustained by rhythm rather than spectacle, a place where myth and agriculture weave seamlessly into daily life. Far to the west, in Xinjiang, lies a mountain lake so strange it has earned the name Heavenly. Lake Tianqi rests high in the Tian Shan Range, its waters a deep sapphire, surrounded by sharp, snow-capped peaks. The air here is thin and clean, carrying the scent of pine from forests that slope down toward the shore. Legends tell of a goddess who once bathed here, her spirit lingering in the lake's depth, watching over those who approach. In autumn, the forests turn shades of orange and red, contrasting with the steel blue water, while in winter the lake freezes into a vast sheet of ice, reflecting the peaks like a mirror of glass. Few make the climb to Tianqi, and those who do often find it cloaked in mist, the water shifting between visible and hidden, as though reluctant to reveal itself fully. To stand at its shore is to feel both small and infinite, caught between sky and water, silence and myth. It is a place that reminds us that some beauty is meant not to dazzle, but to humble. And as we step back from waterfalls with hidden paths, islands alive with devotion, canyons glowing with fire, valleys filled with myth, and lakes suspended between heaven and earth, the unseen grows even more varied. Each wonder shows us that hiddenness is not absence, it is presence revealed slowly. Only when we are willing to wait, to listen, to walk where others have not. Together they remind us that the world's greatest wonders do not shout, they whisper, and to hear them, we must quiet ourselves. The journey ahead still stretches far, deserts waiting with their illusions, mountains with secrets in their stone, forests where even silence carries voices. The unseen remains vast, and our path is far from finished. Deep within the Gobi Desert lies a place where the earth seems to shimmer with illusions. Crescent Lake at Dunhuang rests quietly in the shadow of vast dunes, its waters forming a perfect half-moon shape, cradled by golden sand. For centuries, caravans traveling the Silk Road stopped here, marveling at how such a fragile oasis could survive in a sea of shifting dunes. Even today, despite centuries of sandstorms, the spring-fed lake endures, its reeds bending in the wind, its surface reflecting sky and dune alike. Standing on the surrounding sand, the silence presses so heavily that you can hear grains moving beneath your feet. Yet below the towering walls of sand, this sliver of water persists, a miracle of balance. Scientists study how it resists being swallowed by desert, while locals tell stories of dragons that drink from it, protecting its survival. To sit at its shore at dusk, when the sky burns orange and the sand glows red, is to understand that hidden wonders are not always vast. Sometimes, they are fragile circles of life, clinging to survival in the face of emptiness. Farther east, in Shanxi Province, lies the Hukou Waterfall, where the Yellow River narrows suddenly between cliffs, forcing its vast flow into a channel only 100 feet wide. The water crashes downward in a torrent that shakes the ground, producing clouds of mist that rise like smoke. From above, it looks as though the river itself has been swallowed into the earth, pouring into a cauldron. Locals call it the kettle spout, and legends say dragons live beneath the foam, their breath rising with the spray. In winter, parts of the waterfall freeze into jagged curtains of ice, while the center still thunders, combining motion and stillness in a single vision. Unlike the grand cascades hidden in forests, Hukou is raw, a display of power that feels almost violent. Yet in that violence lies its beauty. Its reminder that rivers are not gentle wanderers, but forces capable of reshaping the land. Hidden in the Loess Plateau, far from easy paths, Hukou remains one of the great secrets of the Yellow River, a place where earth and water battle endlessly, and both win. To the west in Xinjiang lies a desert valley, where caves carved into cliffs hold one of the world's oldest collections of Buddhist art. The Bezeklik Thousand Buddha Caves, located near Turpan, are less known than Mogao or Yungang, but their faded murals still carry voices of a past when this valley was a vibrant center of the Silk Road. Carved between the 5th and 14th centuries, the caves once held thousands of painted Buddhas, their faces serene, their robes in flowing lines of blue and red. Time and invasion have damaged many, but fragments remain, eyes painted with delicate detail, hands raised in blessing, scenes of merchants, kings and pilgrims woven into the murals. Walking inside, you see not only art but evidence of cultural exchange, of India, Persia, and China meeting in pigment on stone. The caves are hidden by cliffs of desert earth, their entrances blending into the rock, their silence disturbed only by wind. To step into them is to step into a forgotten corridor of time, a place where devotion once painted every wall. In Hubei Province lies a gorge so narrow and high, it has been called the Three Little Gorges, a hidden counterpart to the famous Three Gorges of the Yangtze. The Shenong stream winds through these valleys, its waters green and clear, reflecting cliffs that rise in sheer faces above. Small wooden boats rowed by locals glide quietly across the current, their oars cutting ripples into the mirror surface. The cliffs are riddled with caves once used as burial sites, their openings high above the river, their history still mysterious. Monkeys leap from branch to branch along the cliffsides, their calls echoing in the canyon. Unlike the vast Yangtze, Shenong stream feels intimate, secretive, a place where silence holds as much weight as motion. The name comes from the ancient emperor Shenong, said to have passed here while searching for healing herbs. And indeed the gorge feels medicinal, a sanctuary where the rush of water and the stillness of stone combine into a rhythm that soothes even as it humbles. Farther north, in the mountains of Liaoning, lies Qianshan, the Thousand Lotus Mountain. Its peaks rise like petals, spreading outward in graceful arcs, covered in forests of pine and oak. The mountain holds both Buddhist and Taoist temples, their red walls and golden roofs blending into the green slopes. Paths climb upward through groves until you reach viewpoints where the peaks appear like waves frozen in stone, stretching into the horizon. In autumn, the forests ignite in red and orange, turning the mountain into a sea of fire beneath a blue sky. Legends say the peaks were formed by a giant lotus that fell from heaven, its petals transforming into stone. Pilgrims still climb, their chants drifting on the wind, their offerings of incense rising in smoke that mixes with mountain mist. To stand here is to see earth shaped into devotion, nature transformed into a temple more vast than any built by hand. Qinshan is hidden not because it is small, but because it is overshadowed by more famous mountains. Yet in its silence, it holds a grace all its own. And so, as we step back from deserts holding fragile oases, rivers collapsing into thunder, caves painted with forgotten hands, streams whispering through hidden gorges, and mountains blooming like lotus petals, we understand again what it means to seek the unseen. Each place carries not only beauty but a voice of survival, of devotion, of myth. They speak differently, some loud, some soft, some in stone, some in water. But together they form a chorus too vast to ignore, and still, there is more. Deserts yet untouched, valleys hidden deeper still, temples carved into impossible cliffs. The unseen China is not running out of secrets. It is only beginning to reveal them. In the deserts of Xinjiang, near the shifting sands of the Taklamakan, lies the ruined city of Jiaohe, a fortress carved not of stone blocks, but directly from earth itself. More than 2,000 years ago, it stood as the capital of an ancient kingdom, its walls formed by cliffs of yellow earth, its streets laid out in precise lines that remain visible even today. Unlike most ancient cities, Jiaohe was not built upward, but carved downward into the plateau, its houses, temples, and halls dug directly into soil that has endured centuries of wind and sun. From above, the ruins resemble a vast labyrinth of rooms and streets, silent yet perfectly ordered. Standing among them, you feel both the presence of life long gone and the stubborn endurance of earth itself. Though abandoned for over 1,000 years, Jiaohe remains, its walls uncollapsed, its streets still clear, hidden in the emptiness of desert. It is not only a ruin, it is memory solidified, a reminder that even when civilizations vanish, the earth holds their imprint in silence. Farther east in Qinghai, there is a lake whose waters glow with impossible colors. The Tusu Lake, ringed by barren hills, shifts in hues of blue, green, and even pink, depending on light and season. Its high altitude and mineral content create reflections so vivid that the sky seems more real in water than above. Few know of this lake, overshadowed by larger and more famous waters, but those who walk its shore discover a stillness so absolute it feels as though time has stopped. Migratory birds rest in flocks across its surface, their wings catching the sun as they lift in unison. At dusk, the lake reflects clouds in shades of crimson, so that water seems aflame while the earth remains pale and dry. It is a contrast so stark, it borders on unreal, and yet it is entirely natural, a gift hidden in one of China's most remote provinces. Tusu is not guarded by mountains or forests, but by distance, by the effort it takes to reach. That distance is its secret, ensuring its beauty survives in silence. Deep in Shanxi, carved into the face of cliffs above the Yellow River, lies another marvel, the Maijishan Grottos. Over 200 caves have been cut into the mountain, each filled with sculptures of Buddha and Bodhisattvas, their faces calm, their robes flowing in delicate lines. What sets Maijishan apart is not only the art, but the way it clings to the mountain itself. Wooden walkways connect caves across sheer cliffs, narrow paths suspended above vast drops, where each step feels like walking through air. The sculptures date back over 1,500 years, many still holding traces of original paint, their expressions serene despite centuries of erosion. From below, the grottos appear like a honeycomb in stone, dotted with openings that glow faintly with shadow and color. To walk them is to feel devotion, not only in the art, but in the daring of those who carved it. Monks and artisans suspended above cliffs, chiseling stone in wind and storm, their faith stronger than fear. Maijishan remains less known than Mogao, but its hidden power lies in the way art, danger, and mountain merge into one. Farther south in Hunan, lies a valley where rivers cut through peaks that rise in jagged lines like dragon's teeth. The Fenghuang ancient town rests here, its wooden houses built on stilts above the water, their balconies hanging over the current. Lanterns glow at night, their reflections shimmering across the river as small boats drift slowly beneath stone bridges. The town is named for the phoenix, the mythical bird of rebirth, and its narrow streets still echo with history. Carved doors, tiled roofs, towers built by Ming and Qing artisans. Behind the town, mountains rise into mist, their forests thick and untamed, holding shrines and caves tucked into slopes. What makes Fenghuang hidden is not its size but its atmosphere, a place where past and present blur, where myth seems to walk in step with life. At dawn, when mist curls around the wooden houses and roosters call across the valley, you feel as though the town has awakened not just for you, but from centuries of slumber, reborn each morning like its namesake bird. To the far northeast, in Heilongjiang, lies a forest that burns not with fire but with color. The Wudalianqi volcanic region, already known for its frozen caves, is also home to 5 interconnected crater lakes formed by eruptions centuries ago. In autumn, the forests surrounding them blaze in shades of red, gold, and orange, their reflections doubled in the calm waters of the lakes. The black volcanic rock contrasts sharply with the riot of color, creating a scene that feels painted rather than real. Steam still rises in places from hot springs, reminders that the land beneath is not dead but alive, its volcanic heart still breathing. The lakes are less visited than others, lying far from easy paths, yet their combination of fire-born rock, forest, and mirrored color makes them extraordinary. To walk their shores is to feel the meeting of destruction and renewal. Eruptions that once buried life now cradle forests, silence, and reflection. It is a hidden reminder that the Earth's greatest violence can also create beauty that endures. And so, as we step back from desert fortresses carved into earth, lakes glowing with impossible hues, grottos suspended on cliffs, phoenix towns rising from rivers, and forests blazing in volcanic cradles, we see again the layers of hiddenness. Some places are guarded by distance, others by danger, others still by time itself. Each one is a fragment of a larger story, a testament to endurance, transformation, and memory. Together, they remind us that the unseen is not simply what we cannot find. It is what waits until we are ready to look more deeply, to walk more slowly, to listen more carefully. The unseen remains vast, and our path, though long, still stretches forward into wonders not yet revealed. In Tibet's far east, there is a river that disappears into a gorge so deep it swallows light. The Yigong Tsangpo flows through dense forests before plunging into cliffs that rise like walls of a forgotten world. Landslides are common here, reshaping the river's course in moments, and locals speak of the gorge as if it were alive, shifting, unpredictable. Mist lingers above the water, caught between trees and stone, while snow peaks glint in the distance. Few ever enter these depths. Trails vanish, and bridges collapse beneath storms. Yet within this harshness, the land holds beauty too wild to tame. Orchids clinging to cliffs, rare birds flashing bright against the shadow, the sound of water echoing like a pulse through the canyon. The gorge remains unseen because it resists being known, reminding us that some wonders demand not exploration but respect, their secrets kept not for us, but for themselves. Farther north, across the Tibetan plateau, stretches the Changtang, a high-altitude plain, so vast it feels endless. At over 16,000 feet, its air is thin, its winds unrelenting, its nights bitter cold. Yet it is alive with movement, wild yak herds roaming like dark shadows across the horizon, Tibetan antelopes sweeping in graceful lines, wolves and snow leopards hidden in the ridges. Lakes dot the plain, their waters deep blue, reflecting skies that seem close enough to touch. Nomads still live here, moving with the seasons, their black tents staked against winds that howl for days without pause. To walk this land is to enter silence, so immense it erases the self, replacing it with the raw presence of earth and sky. The Changtang is not hidden by cliffs or forests, but by its vastness, so wide and empty that it overwhelms, a place beyond maps, beyond words, where life endures against all odds. In Yunnan province, concealed among peaks, lies the Nujiang Valley, a gorge carved by the Nu River, before it flows into Myanmar as the Salween. Unlike the more famous Yangtze and Mekong valleys, the Nujiang remains remote, its mountains sheltering dozens of ethnic groups who have lived here for centuries. Their villages cling to slopes, their traditions preserved in song, dance, and language that the outside world rarely hears. The valley is a tapestry of cultures as much as a natural wonder. Lisu, Nu, and Tibetan communities sharing the land, their festivals painting the valley with music and color. The river itself is restless, surging through rapids, carving cliffs that rise straight from the water. Trails connect villages by precarious suspension bridges, their planks swaying with each step. The Nujiang is hidden not by obscurity alone, but by the way it preserves diversity, a living archive of cultures intertwined with the land. To visit is to step into a world where nature and humanity have shaped each other quietly for centuries. In the remote reaches of Qinghai stands Amne Machin, a mountain considered sacred to Tibetan Buddhists, rising more than 20,000 feet into the sky. Its glaciers shimmer white, its ridges sharp as blades, its summit often lost in storm clouds. Pilgrims circle its base in a ritual lasting days, their footsteps worn into the earth by generations. The mountain is said to be the abode of a warrior god, its slopes alive with spirit. Few climbers attempt its peak, not because it is unknown, but because it is revered. To step on the summit is seen by many as sacrilege. Those who approach describe the strange silence, the way the wind changes tone as it whirls through ridges, the sight of avalanches cascading in thunder yet leaving the core untouched. Amne Machin remains unseen to most not by secrecy, but by reverence, a hiddenness born of respect, reminding us that not all wonders are meant to be conquered. Closer to the coast, in Fujian, lies Weiyi Mountain, a landscape where peaks rise like stone sails above winding rivers. The Nine Bend River twists through gorges, each curve revealing cliffs striped with mineral colors, caves carved into their faces, and temples tucked into quiet folds. The river's surface reflects bamboo groves, while boats drift slowly, their guides singing old songs that echo against the stone. The mountain is sacred to Taoism, its slopes dotted with shrines and pathways where sages once meditated, seeking harmony with nature. At sunrise, the peaks glow rose gold, their reflections trembling in the bends of water. Weiyi is not hidden in obscurity, but in essence, a place often visited, yet rarely truly seen. Its secret lies in slowness, the way the river moves, the way silence gathers between peaks, the way chants carried by wind seem to linger long after they fade. Only by surrendering to its pace does Weiyi reveal its unseen heart. And as we step back from gorges that resist exploration, plateaus that stretch beyond imagination, valleys alive with cultures, mountains sacred to spirit, and rivers winding in eternal bends, we see again the richness of the hidden. The unseen is not uniform. It wears the shape of wild silence, of living tradition, of reverence, of rhythm. Some places guard their secrets with danger, others with vastness, others with devotion. Together, they teach us that hiddenness is not an obstacle, but an invitation to slow down, to look with new eyes, to understand that not everything must be reached or explained. Our path still stretches ahead, carrying us into deserts, lakes, forests, and mountains yet to come. The unseen China continues, waiting for us to listen more deeply. In the deserts of Inner Mongolia, there lies a sea of shifting shapes that appears to breathe with the wind. The Badain Jiran Desert, already known for its towering dunes, holds another secret, its singing sand. When the wind crosses certain slopes, the grains vibrate together, producing a low, resonant hum, like the sound of a distant organ hidden beneath the dunes. At times, The sound swells into a roar so powerful, it seems to come from the belly of the earth. Ancient travelers believed these were voices of spirits, warning or guiding them across the endless sands. Modern science traces it to friction and resonance between fine grains. Yet explanation does not erase wonder. Standing at the base of a dune as it sings, you feel vibration ripple through your chest, your bones resonating with the sound of sand itself alive. Few stay long enough to hear it, but those who do never forget the desert's voice, a hidden song carved into emptiness. Far to the west in Tibet lies Namtso Lake, the heavenly lake, a body of water so pure and vast that its horizon blends into the sky. At over 15,000 feet, it is one of the highest saltwater lakes on Earth, ringed by the Nianchen Tongha Mountains, their snowy peaks reflected in water as still as glass. The lake changes color with every hour, deep blue at dawn, emerald beneath midday sun, silver at dusk, each mood like the shifting expressions of the earth. Pilgrims walk its shores in devotion, circling the lake slowly, each step a prayer, while strings of prayer flags whip in the cold wind. Legends say the lake is guarded by spirits, that its waters can reveal truths to those who gaze into them with sincerity. Few linger here at night, but those who do see stars reflected so sharply in the water that it feels as though the heavens themselves have doubled. Namtso is hidden, not by obscurity, but by remoteness, by the patience it demands. To experience it is to realize that silence itself can be sacred. In the mountains of Sichuan, a smaller lake hides within dense forests, yet its beauty is no less profound. Wuchuhai Lake rests at over 12,000 feet, a jewel of turquoise framed by snow peaks and alpine meadows. Its name means Lake of Five Musts, reflecting 5 qualities believed essential to its wonder: purity, stillness, depth, reflection, and mystery. The water is so clear that fish seem suspended in air, their shadows trembling across the sandy bottom. Around it, forests of spruce and fir rise into ridges where eagles soar, their cries echoing faintly through the valley. Unlike famous lakes, Wuchuhai is reached only by narrow paths, its silence preserved by effort. Locals say it is a place where spirits dwell, and indeed the lake feels alive, its surface shifting with moods of weather, sometimes dark, sometimes radiant. Sitting at its shore, hearing nothing but wind and water, you understand that some beauty is hidden simply because it chooses to remain quiet. Farther north in Xinjiang, the Altai Mountains hold another hidden marvel, the Canas River, famous for its ever-changing colors. Depending on season and weather, its waters glow turquoise, green, gray, or even milky white, fed by glaciers that grind stone into silt. The river winds through dense forests and meadows before emptying into Canas Lake, already steeped in myth. Locals tell of water monsters dwelling in its depths, dragon-like beings whose appearances are rare but legendary. Scientists study the strange waves and unexplained movements on its surface, yet no certainty has replaced the stories. Beyond myth, the valley itself is one of the most pristine in China, home to Kazakh herders who move their flocks through alpine meadows, their yurts dotting the grasslands like white shells. At dawn, smoke rises from their chimneys as mist curls above the river. The scene so quiet, it feels timeless. Canas is hidden not by secrecy, but by remoteness, its blend of myth and nature preserved by distance and silence. In Hunan Province lies a mountain range whose very name suggests transcendence, Henshan, one of China's 5 great mountains. While its summit is modest compared to Tibet's giants, its slopes hold hundreds of temples, shrines, and pavilions built over 2,000 years. Paths climb slowly, winding through forests of pine and bamboo, where every bend reveals another hall of worship, another courtyard where incense smoke drifts into the trees. At dawn, the sound of chanting rises with the mist. Bells echo softly against the cliffs, and the mountain feels less like stone and more like a living temple. Pilgrims climb steadily, some barefoot, some prostrating with each step, believing the journey itself to be as sacred as the destination. Hidden within the forest are smaller shrines few ever find, caves where monks once meditated in silence for decades, their presence still palpable in the still air. Hengshan's hiddenness lies not in obscurity but in layers, countless corners of devotion woven into a single mountain that asks for slow discovery. And as we step back from deserts that sing, lakes that hold the sky, rivers that shift in color, and mountains alive with devotion, we see once again how the unseen resists simplicity. Some places speak in sound, others in silence. Some dazzle with color, others soothe with stillness. Together, they remind us that the hidden is not only about where the world conceals its wonders, but also about how we choose to experience them. To rush is to see nothing. To linger is to see everything. The unseen China still stretches ahead. Deserts with fire-colored cliffs, forests glowing with mystery, temples lost in cliffs and clouds. And as we continue, the path invites us not just to look, but to belong. In Gansu province, there lies a desert where the cliffs glow like fire at sunset. The Zhangye Dansha landforms, though known in images, reveal their true wonder only when seen in shifting light. Layers of red, orange, yellow, and even pale blue ripple across the hills, each stripe the memory of ancient seas and sediments compressed over millions of years. Walking among them, the ridges look like brushstrokes on a canvas far too large to comprehend. At dawn, the colors are soft, muted in silver mist, but by evening, they blaze with such intensity it seems the earth itself is aflame. The hiddenness here lies not in obscurity, but in time. The patience of geological ages painting landscapes with a palette broader than imagination. Scientists call it stratification, but to the eye, it feels like something closer to art, standing on a ridge as the sun falls. You understand that the land carries stories older than words, and that its beauty lies in endurance. Farther east, in Sichuan's Aba region, lies a monastery perched in such remoteness it feels like a vision. La Ronggar, the world's largest Tibetan Buddhist institute, spreads across a valley, its red wooden houses stacked tightly along the slopes, thousands upon thousands of them glowing like embers in the mountain mist. At dawn, the valley hums with the low chant of thousands of monks and nuns, their voices blending into one continuous river of sound. The air is sharp with incense, the paths narrow and crowded, yet there is serenity in the rhythm of devotion. Few outside travelers have walked its winding alleys, and fewer still have lingered long enough to feel its scale, not just in numbers, but in presence. La Ronggar is hidden not because it is small, but because its life cannot be captured in photographs or words. It is a place where devotion has built an entire city of silence and sound, where every roofline feels like a prayer. In the forests of Hunan, there lies a mountain range, where mist is not an occasional visitor, but a permanent resident. The Tianmen Mountain rises abruptly from the plain, its cliffs sheer and vertical, its forests dense and shadowed. At its summit, a natural arch called Heaven's Gate pierces the mountain, a massive hole carved by erosion that frames the sky like a window into another realm. Pilgrims have long climbed the 999 steps leading to it, believing that reaching the gate brings luck and spiritual renewal. The climb is steep, the air heavy with mist, the stone stairs slick with condensation, yet each step feels like an ascent into myth. Below, paths of glass cling to the cliffs, their transparent floors revealing dizzying drops into cloud and forest. To walk them is to balance between earth and sky, to surrender fear to silence. Tianmen is not hidden by remoteness, but by atmosphere, its presence revealed slowly through mist, a mountain that shows itself only in fragments, as though reminding us that revelation comes in pieces, never all at once. In Tibet, along the Yarlung Po, lies a monastery more secretive than most, Samye, the first Buddhist monastery built in Tibet, dating back to the 8th century. Its layout is said to represent a mandala, with the central hall as Mount Meru, the cosmic mountain, and smaller halls symbolizing continents around it. From above, Its design mirrors the structure of the universe as seen in Tibetan cosmology. The halls are painted in deep reds and golds, their walls covered with murals that tell stories of deities, demons, and the arrival of Buddhism to Tibet. Around it, the land is barren, winds sweeping across dry plains, the monastery rising like a vision of order and meaning against emptiness. Few travelers make the long journey here, and fewer still understand its cosmic design. Yet to walk its courtyards is to feel both the vastness of the universe and the intimacy of devotion, a hidden truth carved not only in stone, but in symbolism invisible until you pause to see. To the north in Heilongjiang, hidden within frozen forests, lies a phenomenon as fleeting as it is breathtaking. Each winter, the Harbin Ice and Snow Festival transforms the city into a glowing palace of crystal. Its sculptures towering as high as buildings, carved from blocks of river ice. At night, lights within the ice glow in shades of blue, pink, and green, turning streets into dreamscapes. Yet beyond the spectacle of the festival lies the natural wonder itself, the Songhua River, whose ice is so clear it resembles glass, capable of holding entire structures in its depths. Walking across the frozen river, hearing the creak beneath your boots, you realize that the hidden beauty lies not only in sculpture, but in the river's willingness to lend its body to creation. By spring, it melts, vanishing without trace, reminding us that some wonders are not meant to last. Their hiddenness lies in impermanence, their beauty in the way they live only in memory. And so, as we step back from deserts glowing like fire, valleys alive with devotion, mountains pierced by gates of stone, monasteries designed as cosmic maps, and rivers that lend themselves to fleeting palaces, we see again that the unseen has many forms. Some wonders endure for millions of years, others for mere weeks. Some are vast and overwhelming, others delicate and fragile, but all share the same truth. They reveal themselves only to those who are willing to pause, to listen, to look beyond the surface. The unseen China still stretches ahead, canyons deeper, lakes stranger, temples more remote. Each step is an invitation, and the journey is far from finished. In Yunnan's far south lies a canyon so deep and narrow that locals call it the Grand Canyon of the East. The Nujiang Gorge, carved by the Salween River, runs through mountains that rise in sheer walls, their slopes covered in dense forests alive with birdsong. Clouds cling low, curling in tendrils across the ridges, while waterfalls plunge from unseen heights into the river below. Wooden bridges sway above the rushing current, linking small villages hidden among the cliffs. The air is heavy with the scent of pine and damp stone, and the roar of the river follows you like a constant companion. Few outside travelers make the journey here. Its remoteness and difficult roads keep it unseen. Yet for those who do, the gorge offers not only beauty but life. Villages where families cultivate terraces along impossible slopes, prayers carried in the wind, and an atmosphere where every breath feels like it carries the memory of 1,000 years. Farther north in Qinghai lies a wonder born of fire and water. The Hoxiel geothermal fields sprawl across the plateau, where steam vents burst from cracks in the earth, hissing like whispers from beneath the soil. Pools of boiling water shimmer with strange colors, green from algae that thrive in heat, orange from mineral deposits left behind. Snow lies not far away, the paradox of ice and steam painting the landscape in contrasts. Few animals live in this hostile environment, but the Tibetan antelope still cross nearby, their herds grazing on high grasslands as geysers hiss in the distance. Standing there, with steam rising into a silent sky, you feel the presence of the Earth's hidden fire, the pulse of energy that runs beneath all things. The geothermal fields remain unseen, not because they are small, but because they lie in one of the most remote and inhospitable places on the planet, accessible only to those who endure both altitude and silence. In the cliffs of Gansu's remote valleys, another wonder hides: the Mati Temple Grottos, a monastery complex carved directly into sandstone walls. The caves connect through tunnels and stairways that snake within the cliffs, opening into chambers filled with statues and painted murals. Some caves open to the outside in arched windows, framing views of mountains and sky, their shadows stretching across temple courtyards below. The grottos are said to have been founded by Tibetan Buddhists more than 1,000 years ago. Their name Mati, meaning horse's hoofprint, from a legend that a celestial horse left its mark on the stone here. To walk through them is to step into a hidden labyrinth of devotion, each chamber alive with silence that feels older than memory. Unlike larger and more famous grottos, Mati remains quiet, tucked away in valleys where prayer flags flutter lightly in the wind, the voices of monks mingling with the sound of birds. Its hiddenness lies in intimacy, a sacred world carved into stone, waiting for those who look closely. Farther east in Zhejiang lies a mountain range shrouded in forests of bamboo. Mount Mogan is not tall, yet its slopes carry an air of secrecy. Hidden within its valleys are streams that ripple through groves so dense they darken the light, and villas built in the early 20th century now lie abandoned among the trees, their stone steps moss-covered, their windows broken by time. Stories say generals once retreated here, artists once painted in solitude, lovers once hid from the world. Today, the mountain holds the silence of abandonment, its paths overgrown, its groves swaying in the wind. At night, the rustle of bamboo sounds like whispers, and the fog thickens until shapes vanish. Few tourists linger, preferring famous peaks elsewhere, but Mogan's hiddenness lies in mood rather than scale. It is not a mountain of grandeur, but of atmosphere, a reminder that the unseen can be found in quiet corners, where memory lingers like mist. To the north in Inner Mongolia lies a steppe so wide it feels without end, yet within it is a lake that glows like a secret jewel. Hulunbuir grassland stretches farther than sight, an ocean of grass where herders ride on horseback, their movements tracing lines older than history. At its heart lies Hulun Lake, a vast expanse of water reflecting sky and cloud, so completely it feels as though the heavens have fallen to earth. In summer, the lake is alive with swans and cranes, their calls echoing across the still surface. In winter, it freezes into a mirror of ice, glittering beneath a pale sun, the silence broken only by wind. The hiddenness of Hulun lies in scale, so wide, so vast, that it erases perspective. To stand at its shore is to lose yourself in horizon, to feel the insignificance of the self against a landscape too large to grasp. Yet in that loss comes something deeper, belonging, the realization that to vanish into such immensity is to return to the earth itself. And as we step back from gorges filled with rushing rivers, geothermal fields breathing steam, grottos carved into cliffs, mountains veiled in bamboo and mist, and lakes stretching across endless grasslands, we see once more the faces of the hidden. Some wonders overwhelm, others whisper. Some live in silence, others roar with power. Together they remind us that hiddenness is not absence but patience, the willingness of the world to reveal itself only to those who move slowly, who listen deeply, who linger long enough to belong. And still the unseen China stretches ahead, deserts yet untraveled, forests yet unspoken, temples yet undiscovered. The journey is far from complete, and the unseen is not finished with us. Deep in Guangxi, beneath the karst hills, lies a cave that glows with its own hidden light. Reed Flute Cave stretches more than half a mile underground, its walls draped with stalactites and stalagmites shaped like forests, waterfalls, and palaces. Over centuries, mineral deposits formed curtains of stone so delicate they resemble frozen fabric, each one shimmering faintly with a natural sheen. Locals discovered the cave long ago, naming it after reeds that grew nearby. Reeds used to make flutes that sang like the wind. In silence, you can imagine the echoes of those notes drifting through the chambers, blending with the slow drip of water as rock continues to grow. Though lights now illuminate its halls for visitors, the cave's true wonder remains in the silence. in the way stone has taken on forms of myth, in the way time has built a cathedral without hands. The hiddenness of reed flute lies not in distance but in perspective. Standing inside, you realize that beauty can form even in darkness, patiently, without witness. Farther north in Xinjiang lies a valley that feels like a world suspended between dream and memory. The Bayan Bulak grassland, nestled within the Tian Shan Mountains, spreads wide in endless waves of green. Yet within it flows the Kaidu River, meandering in 9 great bends across the plain. From above, the river forms a pattern so intricate it looks like calligraphy drawn by the earth itself, each curve a brushstroke of silver across green canvas. In summer, the grassland blooms with wildflowers, yellow and purple spreading like embroidery across the fields, while herds of horses and sheep graze beneath the watch of snow peaks. At dusk, the setting sun glows red behind the bends of the river, turning the entire valley into a painting of fire and water. Few outside travelers reach Bayan Bulak, but those who do understand why it is called a paradise on the steppe. Its hiddenness lies in harmony, the way sky, water, mountain, and meadow weave into a single vision of balance that feels almost too perfect to belong to this world. In Sichuan, there is a monastery so remote it seems carved into clouds. The Yarchen Gar sits in a high-altitude valley, its red wooden huts stretching across the plain like a sea of devotion. It is home to one of the largest communities of nuns in the world, their chants rising daily, filling the valley with a sound like wind turned to prayer. The huts spread in every direction, humble and small, each one a cell of silence, yet together they form a vast tapestry of faith. In the morning, mist drifts low across the valley, and as the sun rises, golden light spills across the red walls, making the entire landscape glow. Few outsiders endure the journey here, the altitude and remoteness keeping it hidden, but those who come feel the immensity of spirit that lives in silence. Yarchen Gar is not a wonder of stone or water, but of humanity, of the way devotion can transform a valley into a living mandala, a hidden city built not of ambition but of surrender. Farther east in Anhui lies a mountain that reveals its secrets only to those willing to climb through cloud. Mount Zhuhua is one of Buddhism's 4 sacred peaks, believed to be the earthly home of Kshitigarbha, the bodhisattva who vowed to save all beings. Temples dot its slopes, some perched on cliffs, others hidden in groves of pine. Pilgrims climb stairways that vanish into mist, their hands clutching prayer beads, their breaths steady with devotion. At the summit, when the clouds part, the view stretches into a sea of peaks, each one rising from a blanket of white, their forms like islands in a celestial ocean. Bells ring faintly from unseen temples, carried by wind, blending with the rustle of pine needles. Zhuhua's hiddenness lies in its atmosphere, a place where myth and mountain merge, where every stone path feels like a step across the threshold between earth and heaven. To linger here is to realize that the hidden is not always about what is concealed, but about what is revealed only when the spirit is ready. In Inner Mongolia, there is another secret of land and sky, the Ordos Plateau, a place of contrasts where desert, steppe, and river meet. At its heart lies the Ordos Loop, a great bend of the Yellow River that encircles the plateau like a golden belt. The land within the loop holds shifting dunes, grasslands, and valleys, a mosaic of landscapes compressed into one. For centuries, nomads roamed here, their horses carrying them across grass and sand alike, their lives tied to the rhythm of river and season. Today, the Ordos remains less known, overshadowed by other deserts and steppes, but its hiddenness lies in its transitions. The way you can walk from sand into grass, from grass into cliff, from cliff into river within a single horizon. Standing on a ridge at sunset, the Yellow River gleaming below, you realize the plateau is not one landscape but many, all stitched together, all carrying the memory of those who passed before. And as we step back from caves glittering in silence, rivers painting calligraphy across plains, monasteries humming with prayer, mountains crowned with clouds, and plateaus shifting from sand to grass to river, we sense the unseen weaving toward its conclusion. Each wonder has been a fragment, each fragment part of a larger whole. Together they show us that hiddenness is not an accident but a design, a reminder from the earth that beauty is revealed slowly, that awe requires patience, that reverence cannot be hurried. And now, as our journey nears its final chapter, we carry with us not only the memory of places, but the change they bring, a deeper way of seeing, of listening, of belonging. The unseen China still has one last gift to offer, one final step before we close the circle of this long path. High in Tibet's remote west lies a mountain so sacred that it has never been climbed. Mount Kailash rises in perfect symmetry, its peak capped with eternal snow, its ridges like the petals of a crystal lotus. Hindus, Buddhists, Jains, and followers of Bon all consider it the center of the world, a cosmic axis linking earth and heaven. Pilgrims walk the 32-mile path around its base, some circling once, others dozens of times, each step believed to cleanse a lifetime of sins. The air is thin, the terrain harsh, yet devotion drives them onward, prayer wheels spinning, mantras whispered with every breath. From afar, the mountain glows with a quiet majesty, its summit shining gold at dawn, silver at dusk. No one has ever stood on its peak, for to climb it would be to defile what is sacred. Its hiddenness lies in untouchability, not because it is unseen, but because it is reserved for reverence, a place where the human urge to conquer yields to the necessity of respect. Farther east, in Guizhou, hidden among karst valleys, lies a bridge carved not by hands but by nature. The Bianyan Bridge is a natural stone arch spanning a river gorge, so vast it feels impossible that it was formed only by wind and water. The arch rises like a gate into another realm, its span shadowing the current below, its cliffs hung with vines and moss. Local legends tell of immortals crossing it, leaving their footprints in stone, while scientists trace its origins to erosion over millions of years. Few come here, the trails rough and the valleys remote, but those who do see more than rock. They see the patience of time itself, carving a bridge where no hand could build, leaving a monument to endurance hidden in the folds of the land. In the northeast lies a hidden wonder of winter, where rivers freeze into sculptures finer than glass. The Jingpo Lake, formed by volcanic eruptions, spills into Dioshwilo Waterfall, which in summer plunges in a curtain of thunder. But in winter, the falls freeze into towering columns of ice, blue and white, glittering in sunlight like crystal walls. Caverns form behind the frozen sheet, where water still flows, echoing in hollow chambers. The lake itself lies silent, a mirror of ice beneath pale skies, while forests of birch and pine encircle its shore. Few beyond the region know this frozen palace exists, and fewer still endure the biting cold to witness it. Yet those who stand before the frozen waterfall feel as though they are in a cathedral of ice, where silence is music and light is prayer. Its hiddenness lies in impermanence, revealed only for a season, then vanishing, leaving only memory. In Yunnan, another secret waits, not in cliffs or caves, but in terraces of stone. The Shaanxi Valley, once a key stop along the Tea-Horse Road, lies quiet now, its cobbled streets lined with wooden houses, its market square still alive with trade. For centuries, caravans passed through carrying tea, salt, and horses, their footsteps wearing smooth the stones of the path. Today, the valley holds the silence of history, its temples still standing, its river winding gently through fields. It is not dramatic, not overwhelming, but it is hidden in plain sight, a reminder that wonder does not always shout. Sometimes it whispers through simplicity, through the endurance of villages that still follow rhythms older than cities. To sit here at dusk, watching smoke curl from hearths, hearing laughter echo across the square, is to realize that the unseen can live not only in mountains and caves, but in the persistence of everyday life. And finally, in the heart of China's south lies a river that closes our journey with a reminder of balance. The Lijiang, winding through karst peaks near Guilin, is not hidden in fame, yet its essence remains unseen to most who come only for photographs. To drift on its waters at dawn is to see why poets have called it a river of paintings. Mist rises from the surface, peaks emerge like brushstrokes from white canvas, fishermen cast nets in silence, their cormorants perched like guardians on bamboo rafts. The river flows with a patience older than dynasties, carrying not only water but the memory of generations who lived and died along its banks. Its hiddenness lies in depth, not in secrecy, but in the way its beauty can never be captured fully. It must be lived, moment by moment, in the rhythm of current and mist, in the silence between mountains. And so, as we step back from mountains sacred and untouchable, arches carved by time, waterfalls frozen into crystal, valleys alive with memory, and rivers painted in mist, we arrive at the end of this long path. 25 steps, thousands of words, and still we have only touched the surface of what remains unseen. China's hidden wonders are not a list to complete, but a journey to continue, a journey into patience, reverence, and awe. If you have walked with me through these hours, you have not just traveled through landscapes, but through a way of seeing, slower, deeper, gentler. That is the true gift of the unseen. And though this chapter ends, the earth waits with more secrets, more whispers, more wonders ready for those who listen. Until the next journey, carry with you the silence of lakes, the song of dunes, the breath of mountains. Carry the unseen, and let it change the way you see everything else.